继续。输入电话号码
Your phone number.
收到含有验证码的简讯后
After you receive the verification code, use the verification code to verify and continue.
账号注册成功。第三步
Now, you successfully registered. The third step is to subscribe to Grandmaster JinBodhi's YouTube channel. Go to YouTube app, search Grandmaster JinBodhi. Choose the right channel. After you get to the channel, you will see Grandmaster JinBodhi's wonderful teachings and live feed records.
记得在频道按下订阅。
Remember to subscribe and turn on all notifications to receive all the notifications. The fourth step is to quickly see your favorable part of the video. So click on the video and then click on the triangle. Scroll down.
点击时间点即可。
You will see the time code and you can click on it.
如果喜欢这些影片
And then you'll see your favorable part. If you like these videos, please like
留言
and leave
分享给亲
comments.
朋好友，
Share with your friends and family.
教会您身边的亲朋好友。
Teach your friends and family to subscribe to Grandmaster JinBodhi's YouTube channel so that they also establish a connection with Grandmaster, and it will bring you immeasurable benefits.
Hi, 亲爱的网友朋友，大家好。
My dear friends, hello
那现在呢
everyone.
是我们佛经探索第7场哈，
So
对，我们就要开始
today
了。
is part
今
7
天同样
of
是邀
exploring
请
the
觉君
realm
和
of
物理呢
Buddha.
来协助我。
Today
给大
I
家来
would
讲课和
invite
服务
Joyce and
啊。
Christine
给大家打
again
招呼。
to
好，
to teach together with me. They
也
all
是
greet
今
to
天这个日
everyone.
子呢，也有一个与其相关的哈，就是我的
Today
这个 YouTube 中
today
文
has
频道
something
这个
you know
叫做
something
订阅哈，订阅量已经达
oh
到
actually
7
today's
万人次啊。
we have
对。
already reached 70,000 subscribers of Grandmaster JinBodhi's
挺开心
Chinese
的。
channel.
谢谢
So
大家的支
today
持
has
哈，
something
非
to
常
do
感
with
谢。
7, part 7, and it's 70,
对，我们
no,
这个课程内容
70,000
呢，
subscribers.
其实
So
我是
thank
希
you
望
for your
说
support.
能给大家一些轻松的话题。
In
也
our
真的不
teachings,
希
I'd
望
like
让你
to bring
听着我
some
讲这些内
fun
容的时候会觉
topics.
得
I don't
有
want you
些
to hear the
不舒
stories,
服
I
呀，
mean the
恐
teachings,
惧呀，
and feel
这
uncomfortable
是真的
or
不行。
fear, or
就
I
是但
really
是
don't want
就
to
是我在看
to
到
bring
这
those to
些
you.
这些故事的时候，啊，
But when I read some
就
of the
觉得
stories,
如果这个内容太轻了，和我们的生活呢不符呢，
sometimes
我
I
们学不到
feel
东
that
西。
if
所以有些故
some
事内容呢
stories
会有
are
一些
too
冲击感
ordinary, then we won't
啊，
learn
会
anything
听着是不舒
from
服。
it. So
其
some
实
of the
人都习
stories
惯
might
也
be
就像
quite
看电视剧一
shocking,
样，对吧？
and you might
都希望
feel
说看了
uncomfortable
就
when
都
hearing the
是有个
story.
幸福美
You
好的
know,
结果
people like to
啊，
just
都不希望
you
说这
know
里头
when
是
they
阴森的、恐怖的，
watch some
最后
videos, they
是
like
没有
to
什么成
view
功
like
的，这个
like
观众都
a
不希
TV
望。
stories and feel very
如果编
comfortable.
剧这么
And
编的话，
sometimes when it's shocking, if
我
a
们提
TV
供的故
story
事呢，就
series
是
or
希
any
望是
videos
说
are
相
very
对温和
shocking,
一些，
sometimes people might
但
get
是能够
uh,
把这个道
disappointed
理
or
给大家
shocked.
学到
I like
啊，
to
尤其
arrange
是
some stories
在
are more gentle, but you can
对于我们来
still
说
learn something.
非常有帮助的那些启发的那些道理
And
啊，
I hope
我
that I
希
can
望
bring
用
you
故
some
事的方式
stories
来
that
呈现，
can bring us
让大家
inspirations,
有所
and
开悟，
it will
这样
be
就把
taught in the
故事中的
stories,
道理
so it will be
和我
more
们的这
interesting,
个
and
身心灵呢，能
and we
够
can
结合为
learn
一
from the
体
story,
啊，这样我们就像学
and
到什
all
么？
these
就是我们
ideas and
遇到类似的
teachings
事情，
can
我们知道如何面
really
对。
enter into our mind. And then
嗯，
when we encounter similar things,
我
we
甚
know
至
how
想
to
着
deal
我
with
们
it.
现在所讲的这一堂大课啊，
I
这个
even
佛经探
thought
索当
that
中，几乎所有的
this
内容
series
都
exploring the realm
都
of
希望
Buddha,
是说我们能够
almost
将
everything in
禅
this
修
series
和佛法
is
当中真正最有
my
意义的
goal
那
is
个精
for
华
us
部分
to bring
啊，
the
让我们所有的
most
朋友们呢
meaningful
能够
part
学到一
of
些，
meditation and Buddha Dharma
就是禅
to
学
you.
也很深奥，
I'd like
佛
to
法
distill
更深奥
the
的不得了。
essence and bring to you.
就是我自己
You
在
know,
研究佛学
meditation
比较
is
深
profound
的那个
and
程度
Buddha
的时候，
Dharma is
其实也
even
是吃
more
力的，
profound when I
也是非常不容
learn
易的，
the
因为
Buddhist teaching,
没
when
有
I
知道
get
的东
to
西
the highest or the
啊，
most
就是佛
profound
陀也
part,
好，还有
sometimes
后来
I
者也
can
好，
feel
没有人非常清楚
hard
的
too
把这个
because
东西
nobody can explain it to you.
很
Nobody
绝对的说这样就是
can
正确
clearly
啊。你像
explain
佛
or
陀在经
tell
典
me
里
that
说描述的很多话
absolutely this is
都
right.
是让我们
When
猜
Buddha described
都
in the
是让我们猜
sutras,
的
a lot of the
啊，
words are
还有很多
not
那
so
个
clear. We have to
很高的那
guess.
个境界，时常是我
And a
们
lot of the advanced
作为
levels
后来者呢
are,
就听不懂、
you
看不
know,
懂、解读不了，
what we
就使我们
can
觉得它是
hardly
个宝贝，但是不能为
understand.
生活所用
We know that
啊，
this is
不
a
能为我们遇
treasure,
到
but we cannot
痛苦
apply
与
it
烦恼的
in
时
our
候
life.
来解救我们
And when we
啊，
encounter
所以这个就变成没
afflictions
有用。
or
但是呢，
sufferings, we
我个
don't
人
know
认
how
为
to
的觉
use
得
these
这个是
teachings
非常宝贵的东
to
西，
deal with it.
我就想
But
怎样用更
I
加
feel
活
that
泛的
there's so much
有
treasure
机的
in
方
this.
法，
So I always
让大家
was wondering
听得
how we
懂、
can,
学得到
you
啊，
know,
将
put
来
the
能够举
teachings
一反三
in
能用。
something that you
我
can
觉得这样就
understand and you'll
才
be
是
able
我
to
觉得才是
apply
对于
to
所
your
谓
life.
佛法与智慧的
And
领悟。
only in this way, then
好，
we
我现
can
在给大家讲
truly
第一个故事， 我还是用讲故事的方式
grasp
啊。
something from the teachings
这第一
from
个故
Buddha
事呢，
Dharma.
就
So
是
we'll
这个
continue
名
to
字叫
teach in
一
the
枚硬
stories.
币的
So
故
the
事。
first story
嗯，
is about
这有一
the
位
coin.
男士，那天早
There
晨呢，
was a man.
准备去上班，他是
One
住这个楼
morning,
房
he
哈，
was about to
从
go
楼
to
上走
work.
下来，
He
到他这个要停
lives
车的路
in
边，
the
要
apartment,
要
so
准备
he
启
came
动自己的车，
downstairs
可
from
是
the
他这个
building and he
楼
was
下
about
比
to
他住的
start his
矮一点
car
的这个
and
有居民呢，当
he
中啊，
met
这有个人家的小女孩，可
a
能就是
resident. There
18
was
岁
a
10来岁的
a
样子，
little
对吧？
girl about
哎，
maybe
就给
7,
他
8 years old
叔
or
叔快来，快来
maybe
帮我一
10
下。
years old.
怎么了？你
And
帮我
she
拿
said,
矿泉水
"Oh,
瓶子，
uncle, could
还得
you
1分
do
钱
me a
给我拿
favor?"
着。我这个
And
鞋
she
带
said,
它
"Oh,
开了，
could you
我需
help
要
me to
在
hold
这儿
this
系个鞋带。
water
因为
bottle
是楼
and
上楼
the
下的邻
coin?
居啊，
I
都很
just
熟
need
悉。
to do
好吧，好
my
吧，叔叔帮你
laces." And
去把
because
矿
they're
泉水瓶子
neighbors,
和那1分
the
钱拿
man
过
said,
来
"Oh, sure, of
啊。
course." So he
哎，
hold the
1
bottle
1
and
块
the
钱，1
coin
块
for
钱，对，
her.
拿着1块钱，
It was
完了之
just
后就
$1.
我觉得好玩儿。哎，小妹妹啊，你这么
And
拿着
so
1
he
块钱
was
干嘛用
playing
啊？
with the
就
coin
这么
and
小
he
的一
was
个货币
asking
能
the
干
little
嘛？
girl and said,
哎，这
"Why
孩
do
子
you
就说，
bring just
老师说了，然后
$1?
每个同学都带1块
And
钱，
the girl
我到
said,
学校去，
"Oh,
老
my
师有
teacher
问，
said every
说
one
每
of
个小
us
朋友
need
都
to
要拿
bring
1块。
$1 to
哎，
school. Yeah,
这个说
everybody
出去
needs
这
to
真
bring
好玩儿，
one."
老师让你拿
And
1块
then the
钱，
uncle thought,
这有什么
"Oh,
意义啊？
that's
说
funny.
着说着，
The
哎，
teacher
噔噔噔
want
噔，
you to bring
这个钱就掉
$1.
了，
What's that
掉了，
for?"
正
But
是
while
叔
he
叔
was
拿
playing
的
with
这
the
个
coin, the
站立
coin
的这个下面，
dropped
就
down,
是一个
you know,
下
because
水
he
道那
was
个排
standing
污
on
排污那个下水道的口
a
儿。
manhole
哎，
cover. It
因为为了
was,
排水方
you
便，所以
know,
下水
right
道
at
上
the
有很宽的往下
opening
排
of
水的
a
那个
sewer
沟槽
system.
呀，所以这个硬币咣咣咣掉下去了。其实我们的手
And
机
then
啊、眼
the
睛啊，不小
coin
心
went
掉到
directly
那儿也容易掉
into
到下
the
面去，
sewer system.
真没办
You
法，
know,
很急人。
sometimes our
有些下
glasses
面
or
很深，
cell phone,
是不是？有些那个
they
井盖跳不
can
开，
drop
这
down
1块钱掉
and
下
then
去
it
了
would
就，
be very hard
这叔叔一
to
看，哎呀，
open
通常
the
习惯
manhole
性拿
cover.
好，我自己再
And
找找口
so
袋里
this man said, "Oh
有没有？
no." Ah,
嗯，
okay,
有
so
这个
he
孩子
tried
说：“
to
叔叔，系
find
好
some
鞋带了，给
coin
我吧。
in his own pocket.
叔叔
And
摸
then
了
the
摸之
girl
后，找
said,
1块钱
"Oh,
没
now
有，
I'm done
说：
with my
哎呀，刚才
laces.
那1
Give
块钱
me
你掉到下水道里
the
了。
bottle and the
哎，
coin." And
我
so
摸
the
我
man
身上
said,
还
"Well,
有，
I'm so
我给你拿个
sorry.
10块钱
I
的吧，
dropped the
我正好
coin,
没零
you
钱。
in the solar.
那这个
And
小孩子
I
学校
can,
又等着用。
well, I don't
我说那
have a
好吧，叔叔，
coin.
那
I mean,
晚上那个
a
我这
loonie
个
right now.
放学回来之后我还给你，还你9块钱
So
了。
he said,
哎，
I only have like the bill of
其实
$10. Could
其实按
you
说应该还人10块
just
钱，
take it? And the girl said,
因
well,
为叔叔帮他保管，又不是叔叔贪污了，对不对？
well, Oh, I'll return the $9 after I come back. But actually, she should actually return the $10 because the man actually helped to safeguard the money for her and did a service for her, right? But anyways, that's a girl. And so she went to school. And then that evening, the man heard a knock on the door. When he opened the door, the little girl was at the door with her father. They were neighbors. And so he said, oh, please come in, come in. And when they come in, the girl's father said, my girl told me about what happened this morning. We cannot take advantage of anyone. And so I'll give you back the $9. And the man was just about to, give it that. And the girl's father said, oh, look at, he looked around in the room and said, are these real? And so the man said, yeah, those are all real antiques. I've started collection a long time ago. So in my spare time, I collected a lot of things. So I have all kinds of things. I have, copper and also porcelains and so the girl's father was looking at them, and he said, oh, now I understand. Now I know what happened. You are collecting antiques. You must know that a special coin, if it was already out of production, and if it is of a special version, it could be very valuable. You are a collector. Well, on the newspaper or magazine, sometimes they would see just like a very small coin, maybe 10 cents. It could sell for like $10,000 or something. And so this girl's father said, well, you are too clever. My girl's $1, it was a special version of a loonie. You would know how much it worth. But the man said, no, the coin dropped down to the sewer. I helped your girl to, hold the bottle and the coin, and it just accidentally dropped down to the sewer. And then the man thought, oh no, today I met someone who's not very, virtuous. But he thought, but we're neighbors. What do you want? How much do you want? And then the man, the girl's father said, at least $1,000. And then the man finally found $700 in his pocket. And the girl's father said, okay, $700 would be fine. And then he took the $700 and left. During this time, the girl was struggling, and she was pulling her father and said, no, you wronged this uncle. The coin did drop to the sewer. But the father said, you know nothing. And so he stopped the girl from saying anything. And so the girl was very upset and felt ashamed. But she couldn't say anything because her father was very annoyed at her. And so she had to go out with her father. The next morning, the man woke up by the sound of a police car. And so he put on his clothes and went downstairs. There were a big crowd there. Exactly where he helped the girl to hold the coin and the bottle, and he saw the little girl lying on the ground and was very dirty, lying on the cold ground, and there were the police and a big crowd over there. And then after he heard the story, we heard that the girl felt very upset. The girl felt so upset because she thought that her father wronged the man, and so the girl went downstairs and tried to find a hard stick to level up the cover. She tried to find the coin, and she did find the coin, but you know, sometimes in the solar system, or if it was in the underground, if it's a storage place, if people never went there, there's that kind of gas called methane gas, and it could sometimes make people deaf or even kill people. And so this girl went into the solar system because she cannot bear that her father would wrong this man so much. But so that's why she went to find that coin. But the girl was killed by that methane gas in the solar system. I don't need to describe how this man would feel or how sad and distressed the girl's parents would be. So I feel so sad. This is a true story. Yeah, it just felt such a pity. How can the girl's father be like this? Well, Joy said, Grandmaster, you mentioned that the girl was killed by the methane gas, but well, actually, I feel like she was killed by her father. And Christine said, yeah, when her father hold her to go and return the money to the uncle, I still felt, oh, that was pretty good. It's just like an ordinary parent, and you know, it's like a role model and asking the child not to take petty advantage of others. And so this kind of education was pretty good. And the girl took $10 from the man, and she didn't want to take more from the man, and so she wanted to return, and the dad also come with her. That everything sounds pretty good at the time, but I didn't expect that when the father saw all the antiques, all of a sudden he had that kind of bad idea, you know, that mind can sometimes change so swiftly, like dramatically. And Grandmaster said he saw that this man was quite wealthy, and that moment the father all of a sudden, maybe because of his career or maybe because of his you know, experience. Last time in last part 6 teaching, Tara was talking to her husband, and the courtesan, when she saw these two people smiling, because the courtesan's career was that, so that's why she would imagine other people would be like this, and when they talked, they were having intimate relationship. And usually people would just see the antiques and just, you know, enjoy it and appreciate this. But this father said, oh, you are trying to take advantage of this girl. And so when he saw the antique would be immediately connected to cheating. And so look at his mind. Like right after he saw the antique, he immediately connected to a cheating activity. So what is his, his mindset? And even the girl said that, the girl tried to explain again and again that the man did drop the coin. He didn't want to trust the girl. He just wanted to trust himself, the suspicion. Grandmaster said your analysis was very good, but you forgot a very important thing. That was only $1, well, actually 1 yuan, because that happened in China. 1 yuan, what can 1 yuan buy? Not even a piece of vegetable. Like 1 yuan, or it was almost value, like you couldn't buy anything. When he saw other people has some assets, immediately he had a bad idea. And so it's like in a Chinese novel, one lady, when he saw a man with some muscles, she suddenly wanted to kill him and use his muscles and flesh to make the meatballs, and that was just yucky. Anyways, and so this father wanted to make money out of it. If the father knew after a few hours his daughter would die because of it, he would never do it. The father probably thought, oh, this is an opportunity. Usually they would like to, try to cheat or actually take advantage of people with some money, not poor people. And last time I checked my Facebook and I read there was the monitor that used by the policeman who took the video of it. The man, there was a man always lying down in front of a luxurious car, and so so this man would just cheat and say that this car has struck him, and so so one time they had the video of him lying down in front of a car. And the car was running very, very fast. And so it actually had a car accident and killed him. That was the driver was a lady, because that was a young girl just broke up with her boyfriend, and well, this man suddenly lied down, but the girl didn't see him because her mind was all about breaking up, and so the girl didn't see anything, and so she didn't even realize that there's a man under the car. And especially because the girl just broke up, and so she was in a very bad mood and was driving very, very fast. And so she was rushing through the traffic lights, and then the man actually died after 7 or 8 days in the hospital. And then this policeman actually got the video, because they have that monitor at the intersection, and took that video that this man actually always, well, he actually lied down, so he said this is not the driver's fault, and they actually put the video to the public, because this man always did that and hurt a lot of drivers. And when they posted on Facebook, the policeman said, well, thank you, the lady driver, because the girl actually helped everybody to remove this this hurtful man. Yeah, this man tried to always blackmail some drivers, and eventually he hurt himself and lost his own life. And so this girl's father was also not virtuous, and he also blackmailed the other man. Sometimes, some robbers, and they could even, and whenever they are in front of their children, they try to pretend to be a good man. And this father, even in front of his daughter, he was still doing all the he was still blackmailing right in front of his daughter. So, some people always analyze this, talking about their previous lives. Let's forget about previous lives. Just talk about this life. So, let's think about this story. Maybe, if you think about the story, if you are the girl's mother. Yeah, okay, Christine, maybe you can create the story. If you were the mother of the girl, and so Christine said, I really hope that we can go back to before, and maybe if we can do something else, then it can lead to a different result. Say, for example, I'm the mother of the girl, and so the girl has already, the little girl has submitted $1 to the teacher, and she still has a $9. And then the girl told me the story how she got that extra $9. And so if I were the mother, I would say, oh, that $9 belongs to the man, so I'll bring you to his home and we can give it back to them. Or maybe the mother would say, oh, maybe you can go and return the money yourself, and you should say thank you. And maybe the girl would return the $9 herself, and maybe would say very simple, and maybe she would also say thank you. And that would be very easy and simple. And so, of course, the girl will not lose her life. She would not die in the sewer. So it would just, yeah, it's done. Okay, so Joyce, let's use our imagination. Let's create the story again. So let's come back to that night. Okay, say if I were the mother, and I talked to the girl, I said, oh, even though the coin dropped down and he still gave you $10, and you were able to give $1 to the teacher, and you have this $9. And so the girl, and so the mother would tell the girl, oh, you should thank the uncle. And, right now, the neighbors, they don't go and visit each other. Sometimes, they don't talk to each other. And so this becomes an opportunity for them to sit down and chat. And maybe the girl and the mother went there and said, oh, I didn't know that you actually are collecting antiques. Wow, that's so wonderful. And so the man would say, yeah, that's just my passion. And then the mother would say, oh, actually, I have a similar pot in my home, and I don't know what it is because it was my grandfather who gave it to me. I didn't know what it was. And if you know about antiques, could you come to our house and maybe you can check for me? And so maybe the man would say, oh, okay, well, it happens that you come here today, so maybe I can go downstairs with you and check that pot for you. And maybe say, for example, this was the bottle or the pot, and then so the man would say, "Oh, this is a pretty good thing. It might be several hundreds of years old, but I'm not sure. So I will ask some of my friends to check them because they are specialists." And so as the mother, I would be very happy. Oh, that would be so wonderful because yeah. Now I'm actually thinking about my daughter going to a private school. A lot of her classmates already moved to a private school. So if this is something valuable, if I can sell them, then my daughter can go to a better school. And then after a few days, and then the man truly helped them, and he go and find someone who check the item and so, yeah, this is an antique and it would sell for a very good price. And so the mother asked the man to help because they have the trust and they're helping each other, and they even become like good friends. They're not only neighbors, they're now becoming good friends. Yeah. And then the man actually sold it for 58,000, and so the mother was so happy because it's enough for paying the private school tuition, and they want to give something back to the man, but the man said, no, you have a good daughter, we're just neighbors, it would be a pleasure to help you. And so the mother would make some dumplings and send it over, and so they become such good neighbors. Well, actually, Grandmaster said, why do you always say you only return $9? You should return $10 because the man took out $10. He didn't. Yeah, he didn't get that $1. You should return that $10. And so if you do that, at least there will be nothing wrong happening, nothing bad will happen. And so our friends, for the same thing, if we do not have that greed, and every day we will just live a peaceful life. Maybe we're just we don't have an antique in our house, but at least we can just return the money and we can just lead a very simple and peaceful life. A lot of mothers know that peace and safety is good fortune itself. So make sure that don't be greedy. So I have a new term when they see some form, they have a different heart or a different mind. Okay, the next story. The thief on the train. One night on the train was running. There was a policeman of the train because he was on duty. He was patrolling the train and he saw a thief was just about to steal a wallet from a sleeping grandpa. You know, the old man was sleeping. And so the money actually dropped down from his pocket to the seat. And then the young man secretly took that money and put in his own pocket. And then the policeman saw that and said, "Don't move." And he tried to catch him. When the thief just did that, he was actually very, very alerted. And when he heard the shout, he immediately ran away. And because he was very young, he ran very fast. And he ran to the dining car. And the policeman quickly took out the walkie-talkie and talked to the other policeman in the other side of the dining car. And while they were talking,
已经把一个这个餐车的一个窗户打开了。
And the thief actually already opened the window of one of the windows in the dining car just when the thief was just about to jump out of the window, the train suddenly had a sudden stop. It was very, very sudden, so a lot of the dishes on the table rushed down and it slipped down from the table. And a little girl, because of the sudden stop of the train, she bumped into the side of the dining car and immediately her head was bleeding. The thief was just about to jump out, but he didn't jump out of the dining car. He came back and hold the little girl and trying to find, oh, where's the first aid? And the policeman was very surprised to see that. And he just followed the thief to try to find the first aid. And so the little girl was quickly looked after. It was just some bruise and bleeding on the nose. So the girl didn't had a very serious hurt. Not a very serious injury. So at this time, so they were asking about what about the thief? And so the policeman was actually hesitating. But the policeman also, the policeman saw how the thief saved the girl. And so the policeman said, well, just take out the money. Don't wait until I catch you. And so the man said, well, it's the first time. He very reluctantly took out the money and he said, oh, first time I did it, I've already been caught. And so the old man got the money back. And so the policeman really hesitated because the old man didn't lose any money, and also the thief saved another girl. And so the policeman said, well, I'll tell you, you did something bad, but you also did something good. But make sure in the future, never steal. Go and learn some skills and find a good job. And so the thief said, no, 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 I will never do that. This was my first time. There was a story in my family. We had a financial difficulty, but the policeman said, well, you were lucky. Let me show you outside. When they opened the window of the train, they saw that it was actually like a bottomless abyss right outside of the train. And so if that thief jumped out of the window, he would definitely lose his life. So that is the ending of that story. So what's your comment? And so Christine said, wow, this thief was lucky. That one kind thought saved his own life. Because otherwise, if he jumped out, he would really regret because he didn't know that outside was the abyss. And so Joy said, he would just say, ah! And the little girl actually was bleeding. Maybe she also said, oh, help me. If the thief didn't even care about others and just jump out, and then and then he would start to say, oh, who will help me?
怎么还不着地呢？
对，因为太深了，就是摔到
yeah, because that was like maybe thousands of feet deep. He would even be fainted, and because it was just bottomless. And maybe we could also develop this story.
然后这个小偷不是这第一次偷嘛，然后他说家里又有点困难这样子的哈，对。
Well, Joy said this thief said this was the first time for him to steal because he had some financial difficulties, and he told the girl to go and find a doctor. And then let's say the girl's mother also came, and of course the girl's mother would thank him and say, "Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for saving her." And then the mother also heard about from the policeman that this was a thief, that was the first time for him to steal something, and she also heard about the financial difficulty. And maybe the audience would also beg the policeman for forgiving this thief because he saved the girl, and they said maybe you could just educate this young man. And then the mother of the girl thought, oh, well, if you have financial difficulty, and she asked about where you were, and well, actually she found out that they were from the same city, and if you don't have a job and you have this difficulty, if you don't have a job, you can come to my company. It happens that I do need someone on a certain position, a young man on a certain position. And then so the young man was very grateful, and so he went there and worked there. So he had a job, and so he didn't need to steal anything. He had a job and an income to to solve the problem of that financial difficulty. And so he was not a professional thief. It was just the first time for him. Well, so Grandmaster said he went back to, he took the train to go back and see his parents, but his money and his luggage was stolen by a thief, and he didn't even have money to buy a bus ticket, and his parents were very sick and lying on bed, and he actually made quite some money, but he lost all of his money. He tried to beg for some money, but he felt so shy to ask money, and at this time he saw the money slip down from the old man's pocket, and he was just in that need of money. And well, in this situation, he made a wrong choice and took the money. And it was like the policeman saw that, but he was not a thief by nature. And it was a good thing that the sudden stop of the train made the girl bump into the train. And so Joy said, actually, everybody thought that this young man saved the girl, but actually it was the girl who saved this young man. And even if he was caught by the policeman, it would also not be very good. And so the girl actually saved him. If he jumped out of the window, it would be even worse. Yeah.
真是麻烦哈。
So, yeah. So just that one kind thought at a key point will sometimes bring you an unexpected good result.
很有道理，还真是。
Yeah. And it actually, the sudden stop was a sudden stop of his bad thought. So see, sudden stop is good. Anyways, next story. Story of Mr. Zhang. And Mr. Zhang works in a company. One day, all of a sudden, he was called by his manager, and his manager scolded him badly. And Mr. Zhang was very wrong because it was not his fault, but his manager didn't even let him say anything. And so Mr. Zhang was very, very upset. He's like, oh, what a bad day it was. He didn't do anything wrong. It was somebody else who did that. He didn't even have a chance to explain. And so he was very sad and very upset. When he get back home, his wife already cooked the dinner, but he was very annoyed from work. And because of his anger at home, and he tasted the dish and he's like, it's so salty. Did you sell salt today? And he put down his chopsticks and went downstairs. When he went downstairs, he wanted to release his anger. You know, sometimes when you had something wrong, something wrong would always happen to you continuously. So a dog came to him and barked at him. He was so angry. Oh no, even the dog wanted to belittle me. And he kicked the dog, and the dog quickly ran away to the dog owner. And so the lady who was the owner of the dog, and she was very angry, and then so she followed the dog to find this man, Mr. Zhang, and so he said, how dare you kick my dog? What did you... And so the lady also was saying something really bad, but Mr. Zhang was was so angry, and when he heard this, he slammed the lady on the face. And right at this moment, the lady's husband came back from work and saw that he was slamming his wife. And so, of course, the husband came over and fight with Mr. Zhang. And Mr. Zhang was like, what day is today? Why are there so many bad things coming? And so Mr. Zhang picked up a brick from the corner of the wall and strike on the lady's husband. And so the lady quickly called the police, and everybody come over to see. So Mr. Zhang was caught by the police, and he was sentenced for 2 years, and he had to compensate, like pay for thousands of dollars, $20,000 of medical expenses. And so, well, you know, because it was like more than $20,000 of medical expense. And so Mr. Zhang was put in jail. And he was like, oh no, when he was in jail, when his wife came over to look at him, he said, that was not my fault. It was all because of my manager. But so you two tell me, whose fault was that? And Joy said, this was very common, you know. Oh, maybe your manager would scold you, or maybe your wife would scold you. That would happen very regularly. Have you ever worked before? Did you had a manager before? Have you ever been scolded by your manager? If your manager scolds you, what would you do? And they say, oh, I dare not do anything. Yeah, in a school, sometimes the teacher might even scold you and maybe wrong you. And Christine said, if you have a job, yeah, sometimes if you have a manager, then maybe the manager might scold you, but manager also take the biggest responsibilities. And even if you don't have a manager, you are the boss, but you also always need to say sorry to your clients, right? Whatever your clients say, they are always right, right? Yeah. How can you always like do whatever you want? Yeah, so Grandmaster said this Mr. Zhang really had a very bad personality, right? A very bad temper. There were just so many points. Yeah, so he said to his wife, he said, well, he said, if my manager won't scold me, then nothing would happen. Say, for example, he came out of the manager's office. Oh, now I understand why if I look at some Korean TV series, the couples, they would, yeah, after they fight with each other, and you will see like they would say ash, and the man would say ash in the corridor. And Christine said, maybe you can just do more ashes in the corridor, right? And if it's too hard, maybe I'll call a boyfriend or girlfriend and, oh, after work, let's go to a restaurant and have some wine or some alcohol or maybe some beer well, yeah, maybe break some pen and well, actually, his wife was very nice. Yeah, if you have a wife who also has a temper, like the wife cooked all the food and all of a sudden, out of no reason, he was burst into anger and blamed about the dishes were too salty. Well, you see, his wife didn't say anything. And so some of our online friends are leaving their comments in the live chat and said, yeah, if you can just tolerate for a while, everything will be fine later. Yeah. And Joyce said, well, it's just a very trivial thing. Yeah. And if you can just tolerate it and let it go, it will be fine. But Mr. Zhang always wanted to explain, but he didn't got a chance to explain. And so, you see, his wife cooked good food, but he was in bad mood. So he said that the dishes were all too salty. And even if it is very salty, if you have a high EQ, you should say, oh, well, it's a little salty, but you cooked, yeah, you're so nice that you cooked all the dishes, but it's a little bit too salty. Maybe we could go out to the restaurant today or something. And if the dog would bark at him, and maybe yeah, maybe you can bark at the dog too, and maybe you could talk to your manager and say, oh, manager, you should listen to me. Yeah. Well, there are always different ways for you to turn. Like, yeah. Yeah, and when the lady comes and blame him at kicking the dog, how can you stand the lady, right? Yeah, it's almost like he had that strong energy and it bounced on the wall, and it just becomes, the energy becomes stronger and stronger until the last minute. Yeah, maybe you could say, oh no, this lady is not very reasonable. Why you are saying those bad things? But I'm a man, I'm not going to fight with the lady, right? You could just, but that lady wasn't very good. The dog barked at someone and the lady even blamed the man. That wasn't good either.
生气的人别上去啊。
Maybe so. Christine said, maybe you should train your dog. Only bark at people with a very peaceful temperament. Those people with a bad temper, you would never bark at them, okay?
静不说正经的。
我这没什么说的，因为这种事它是个案件。它发生了，就是一个，我觉得就是一个普通百姓啊，普罗大众当中谁都会发生的事。
It happened in the public. I mean, for an ordinary people. Well, at lunchtime, I told the story to Christine, and Christine said,
就是刚出校门，就是找工作。
Actually, when we just graduated, and some of my classmates went to go to a Japanese joint venture, and when we saw, oh, they were very lucky, they went to a joint venture. But those people, when we get together, classmates get together, he said, oh no, it was so, hard, and because their manager was very, they were very hard working for his boss, because they would even usually for men, they would, for ladies, they would just scold them really harsh, but for men, they could even beat them. Yeah, and they would even say hi after the manager beat them. Yeah.
这个好像说他们有些人工作的时候还挺能忍辱的哈。
对啊，
那这个小张就不能。
Those people were very tolerant, but Mr. Zhang were not.
我先给网友朋友说，这叫辱吗？是被侮辱的辱吗？
Grandmaster said,
我觉得不是。
Is this a humiliation? I don't think so.
我觉得像这个现象，小张遇到被经理骂了一顿这个现象。
When Mr. Zhang was blamed by the manager.
从普通的技术工人打工族
Any employee can encounter that. Whether you work in the office, whether you're an engineer, or you are a construction worker, or even you're a CEO, you could even encounter this. You would even have a higher level boss, and so you would still have this kind of encounter. In our work, sometimes we ask a designer to design something, but they didn't design something that we wish, but he liked it. He thought this is good, but that was not what I wanted. And sometimes the designer, if he was very young, he could just say, oh, if you don't like it, I will quit, or something like that. For Mr. Zhang, being blamed by a manager, this is a very common thing. It's not humiliation. Well, the manager didn't need to humiliate you. He needs to do the business. He need if he really wants to humiliate you, he can just dismiss you. When he's still scolding you, he's actually trying to make you better. And some boss, he's just giving you an opportunity for a training opportunity. And even if you do very well, he would train your tolerance. And if you can tolerate it, he would say, you have very high EQ, and maybe you can become the leader. So Mr. Zhang didn't have that tolerance. And some people, when they were scolded by the manager, they could commit suicide. No, that's not good. As an employee, you should have the ability to tolerate all of these. In the Japanese culture, well, actually, it was the Chinese culture. My grandmother, my grandfather said, when he was an apprentice, his master would actually scold them and beat them. And the teachers, in ancient China, they would beat the students' hands, their palms. I heard this still happens in some countries. I would say, as the leader, try not to use this way to your students or to your employees. But the teacher already told the students like 8 times and he didn't listen, and so the teacher beat him. Well, in the Oriental culture, for thousands of years, it was just like that. In part of Chinese culture and some Korean culture, they were still like this. I also have, disciples. Some disciples are good if I just tell them once, and they already heard and they would do it, and they heard it right. And the second kind of disciple, if you teach them 3 times, 4 times, they are still making mistakes. And the last kind is like, I can teach him 3 days and he couldn't even understand or remember anything. Just one gesture, like one posture of walking energy bagua. I teach him for a whole month. He didn't know what to do. And he would say that, actually, I taught him. It's not my fault, but he just couldn't learn. Sometimes the master would beat him, and then, because some students, when you teach him, he would be so easily distracted. But if you give him that stimulation, and then he would be focusing and will be able to remember. So that becomes a way for a master to help them to learn something. And in some Oriental culture, they would say, oh, this person has already worked here for 5 years and you have just graduated. And this Lao Zhang will be your master. Everything, whenever you have questions, you can ask him, and he's your instructor. Because the CEO cannot instruct you all the time, but the senior worker or instructor, because he works with you, he can always guide you and instruct you. And if you want to become a disciple of someone, you actually need to bow and do a lot of service to the master so that you'll be able to learn something. And in the Oriental culture, if you, as the disciple, will forget something, the master would really beat you. That's a good master because he really cares about whether you learn or not. If he didn't care and he didn't scold you, didn't blame you, didn't, beat you at all, and it's not a good master. So that's the culture. And so, if you're in some countries, maybe the master would even slam you or kick you or hit you. No, they are not really beating that hard, but they are just trying to use this to make you remember. So, Christine, can I ask you, is this humiliation? Have you ever interviewed all the disciples? Actually, a lot of the disciples, almost every disciple have been beaten maybe by the master. Were they very angry at the master? Actually, I went to Japan, I went to Korea, I asked those disciples, and So there was one master. I asked his 2 disciples, when your master beat you, were you angry? And he said, actually, no, how can I be angry? If my master was not strict on me, I would forget all about it. That's why I bowed to him when he beat me.
烫头加染发，那烫一个头，起步
there was
你只要一来坐在那儿，要烫头就是$2000之后，
hairdresser
再往上加1000，再做个什么形状再加500，等等的就往上加，对吧？
Yeah, they want to dye the hair,
他这个新徒弟呢，
and so it was very
心不在焉，在走
expensive.
神儿，
Maybe
家里有点事儿，一走神儿，他前头看那个。
maybe like 2,000 for dyeing or 500 for dye the hair, but the disciple was distracted because he had something happening at home. They want to, a lady came with very long hair. She wanted to perm the hair. And finally, she said, I want to have a very long wave, perm it like very big wave. So now the design is set. And so the hairdresser asked the disciple to go and wash the hair first. But the disciple was distracted after he cleaned the hair, he cut the girl's hair. But the lady wanted to have very long, wavy hair. And after the disciple cut the hair, this hairdresser didn't even dare to let the lady see. Like, yeah. What if the lady asked for compensation, like perm the hair maybe cost 2,000, and maybe the lady would ask for 5,000 or 6,000, and so the hairdresser needs to perm the hair, maybe everything for free, and also say a lot of sorry to the lady and try to find a way to still make the lady be satisfied. And maybe after that, maybe the hairdresser will maybe slam the disciple, and the disciple was actually happy because that saved him like thousands of dollars. Because he did wrong. And so even your employer blamed you wrong, if you think this is humiliation, you don't need to work for him. If you want to work for your employer, you need to be ready to be blamed or scolded or be wronged. Maybe, and Joyce said, Mr. Zhang maybe forgot why he want the job. Actually, right now, to find a job isn't very easy. Maybe at the beginning, when he tried to get the job, he was like, oh, whatever it takes, as long as I can get the job. And maybe this time the manager was just testing him and see whether he can handle this. And maybe if he can, then the manager would promote him. Yeah, if Mr. Zhang, Mr. Zhang actually didn't have job for a whole year. Finally, he got the job for 3 months. And so now he's in prison. So that's why his wife was crying. It wasn't easy for you to get this job. And yeah, and also before maybe he talked to his wife and said, as long as you can marry me, I can do anything for you. I can wash your feet. I can cook for you. I can do anything. But now, see, he didn't have time to cook. He didn't have time to do anything for his wife. And so when at the beginning when he wanted to get it, he would like agree to anything and promise anything. But when he already got the position, he forgot the original thought and the original promise. I'd like to remind you, Grandmaster said, when you encounter something, your perception is very important. You know, the 5 aggregates: form, feelings, perception, mental formation, and consciousness. Because the same thing he perceived in a very different way. It's a low-level way. So today, if I were Mr. Zhang, I would say, thank you, Grandma. Thank you, Manager, to remind me. I will try to do better. And when I get home, I should truly think this way so that I will not be angry, so I will not be upset at my wife's cooking and dishes. I will not need to, I don't even need to go downstairs and kick the dog. Nothing would happen because I don't need to go downstairs. And then maybe the manager would think, this young man is very calm and peaceful and very wise, and I will promote him. You know, it would be easy for any company to find just a regular employee, but it would be very hard to find a higher level, manager or a leader. And so a lot of times they would give you some tests, and if you can pass, then they will promote you. But Mr. Zhang forgot about his initial wish. You know, for a whole year he didn't have a job, and after he found this job, he even bring the whole family to the restaurant. But now he's always complaining about the job. So he forgot about his initial, thoughts. Say, for example, Mr. Zhang Mr. Zhang considered these scolding as a humiliation, so he's making up this too big. It becomes a big issue. But where is that humiliation, right? Where is that humiliation? So this perception, your perception of what happened was wrong. So that's why you had a lot of wrongdoings. And most importantly, because you were truly angry. And that's why you did a lot of unwise things. And so Christine said he was too care about right or wrong, and to care about his own feelings, and to care about his face. And so that's why whatever he heard from his manager, he felt it was humiliation. So the feeling of humiliation, what is humiliation? So that was a wrong perception. If you really love your family member, when you lose your job, why you try so hard to find a job? When you just got the job, why you were so happy and overjoyed? When your boss, well, maybe the boss said at the beginning, said, when I'm angry, I would scold people, I would even beat you. Maybe because at the time you want this job, you would say, no problem. But when you actually work there, you think it's humiliation. I tell you, 6 months ago, I watched a video on YouTube, and it was, the title of the video was to survive, to live with hair. So it's a very sad video. I think it was in 1989, 1990. It was in Shanghai, in China. At that time, people's salaries were quite low. And so somebody actually said, maybe you can go to study abroad in Japan. but it will cost RMB maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars. But don't worry, if you study there for 2 years and if you can get a certificate, it won't be too hard to get the certificate. I think that was a certificate for some skills, and after it wasn't very hard to get the certificate. And because in Japan they really need this kind of workers, and if you have the skill and you have the certificate, it would be very easy to find a job. And after you get the job, your monthly income would equal to 4 years of income in Shanghai. And everybody did some investigation about this and found that it was true. So a lot of people went to Japan. So one of them was a man in Shanghai. He had a family in Shanghai, but he wanted to improve his life. He was an employee in a company in Shanghai. And after the reform in China, he lost his job and he borrowed $100,000 yuan, RMB. And so this man is Mr. Ding, and so he borrowed the money and he went to Japan. But the school in Japan had some problem. So he left the school. Well, the school didn't ask him to leave, but he left. So he lost his status in Japan. So he had to wander on the street and try to find a job. So he would go to a Chinese restaurant maybe just to do the dishes and always do the hardest labor. But the income was very, very extremely low. You know, someone in Japan who has a legal job would have good salary, but for him, and he would probably give him only $20, or sometimes he would say, oh, the police comes, and he had to run away and he couldn't get anything. And so he would be looked down upon, and he would, you know, even the rats can run on the street. He couldn't even run on the street, and because he couldn't, he was afraid that police would see him. And because his status was illegal, and he couldn't even go through customs, and because his picture, the customs already had him, and he also has a big debt of 100,000. So he had to stay in Japan. He actually worked all kinds of labor, from cutting vegetables, you know, all kinds of work in the restaurant, all kinds of work, like doing the dishes, cutting vegetables, making dishes, cleaning the tables, doing all kinds of cleanings. So all kinds of Japanese dishes, or Chinese dishes, or even especially Shanghai dishes, he was good at all of them. He had the lowest income, and even though he had the lowest income, he would still send money back home so that his daughter can go to school. And his daughter was able to go to the first class middle school and high school in Shanghai. And it was because Mr. Ding was working on the hardest labors and got some money. But his wife and his mother misunderstood him. And his wife was like, oh, I almost forgot Mr. Ding. He must have found another woman. But because he loved his daughter, so he would still send some money here.
吃了所有的苦。
That's how his wife would understood him. And so he took all the pain. He would clean the washrooms in the subway, and he would have to, clean the floor, and the inspectors, because they were very strict, he had to work so hard and clean so carefully, and he really had suffered so much. But Mr. Ding's wife still thought that he probably had forgotten them. So Mr. Ding sent money to his daughter to go to the best high school, and his daughter was admitted to a medical school in the New York State University, I think. And so he was only after his daughter graduated from that medical school, he finally was released. And his wife was going to New York to see his daughter, and so so his wife transit from Japan, but he had to hide himself, and when his wife saw where he lived, everything was so small, and he had to take shower in a plastic bag, and it was such a small room. And because he lived underground, and he would have to, every day, he works 3 to 6 jobs, and he could only sleep for 4 hours. And there was a Chinese man who took the video for him, and that person was very touched. Yeah. When the person who took the video was very, very touched by how he lived all these years. When his wife looked at where he lived, his wife was in tears. Yeah, I'm actually very, very touched by him. Mr. Ding really had a very, very hard life. He couldn't rest because his daughter is studying in the medical school, and that would be very, very expensive, maybe hundreds of thousands of US dollars. And so every day Mr. Ding is very, very works very hard, but he was very happy because he had hope. After many, many years, he left Japan and went to the United States. At that time, his daughter was already a professional doctor in the United States, and had very high income. And Mr. Ding still worked in a restaurant in the United States. Mr. Ding just did everything so perfectly that his employer was overjoyed because he was the best employee of the whole country, he would say. Because when he was working in Japan, he worked so hard and so perfectly, and that became his habit. He would wipe the kitchen like shining. Right. And, like when we think it's already very clean, he would say, "Oh no, this is so dirty." He would wipe it so shiny. He would never rest.
他说我们在日本工作就没有说你在拿着工资的这个时间躲到后面喝杯咖啡找人聊个天在这抽烟
after working for a few hours he would maybe smoke at the back of the door or rest for a while, have a break at least. But in Japan, whenever you're working, you're having an income from the work, he would never rest because he's paid to do the job. And okay, my question is that did he feel humiliation when he was working in Japan? No. He was very happy because he wanted to make money for his daughter. And so when the journalist interviewed him, he said, Mr. Ding, when we are taking the video for you, we don't think that you should do that. We felt it's so hard. But Mr. Ding said, as long as I can do something for my daughter. You know, when I'm saying this, my heart, it just aches. He felt very happy when he can do something for his child. This is true love.
是，刚刚我也看了一点点他的资料，真的是值得好好看一下这个纪录片，好感人。对，
I saw the video.
我们都看着还是挺欣慰的。
We really should go to YouTube and check out that video. It was good that finally he was liberated and he went to the United States. And I heard that last year in 2020 he finally got the official visa or immigration status in the United States, and his daughter was working to help people in COVID, and because she was a doctor, and so finally the result was very, very good. And after, so in Chinese, this video was living with tear. So maybe we can check that video. And when he went back to China and transit in Japan, the policeman saluted to him. All the policemen in Japan, in the immigration office, stood up and saluted to him because there had never been a man, a Chinese man in Japan who stayed there for so long, worked so hard, and never had criminal record. And he just worked so hard, did the hardest kind of job, and never did anything illegal. And he sent all the money to his daughter. And where he lived was not even as good as maybe a pet pen or something. So if we are working in a company or anywhere, if we're scolded by the employer, if we are wronged and you cannot bear it, I would say you're really not mature. You're not very suitable to work there. And maybe because Mr. Zhang didn't have someone who really he loves, if he need to support his parents and need to support his children, in order to support all of them, he would bear anything. There would be no hardship that he could not overcome. The love would overcome anything. So this story really touched me and touched my, it was really a touching story. And so Mr. Zhang's story was really immature and really need to start his life from zero. And he really needs to have the basic virtues and abilities to survive in the society. He needs to have that composure, that fortitude. And even if you are the boss, if you have to be wrong, then you have to tolerate it. Whatever you need to tolerate, you need to tolerate. Sometimes I'm very involved into the story. And Joy said, yeah, we too, we are all touched by the story. I have another story. And this story is a very, very good story. And this story is who...
Well,
actually, I have two stories. Let me think which story I'll tell first. Okay, tell this one. Who picked up the child? Who took my child? So who took my child? Who took the child? So that happened, that's a true story. It happened in 1992 in the United States, in Kentucky State. It was happened in an elementary school. So one day, a boy was picked up by someone, and the parents was very worried. Who took the child? So the child's father, for some reason, he divorced. And after the divorce, this father married again and married a very young girl, maybe 19 or 20 years old. And this girl was 15 years younger than the father. And then the girl, after the marriage, the girl got pregnant. Because the girl loved her husband very much. Sometimes the father wants to spend some time with the little boy. I don't know if the boy lives with the mother or the father. Oh, live with the mother. And so on holidays, the father, of course, he loves the boy and he missed the boy. So a lot of times, maybe on weekends or holidays, he would pick up the child to the father's home, and so they can have dinner together. And the child is maybe a teenager already. So the father was a truck driver, and he needs to send commodities to different provinces or different states. And so when he left, he would sometimes it would be a long time, and because he was away for so long, he wanted to pick up the little boy to come over. But the young girl, when there was only the father and the girl, maybe it would be more convenient for them to have any be more convenient for them. But the father picked up the boy, so the father would maybe play with the boy and maybe help the boy with some homework. He wanted to fulfill some father's responsibilities. But the new wife, the boy's stepmother, because she was only in her early 20s, and she was pregnant, and so she thought, oh, the father only loved the boy, and she hated the little boy. She even wrote it on her diary, and she said she heard, I hate the little boy, I wanted to kill him. When she actually wrote it down many times. So one day, the father went out to work on the transportation, and the stepmother, who hated the little boy, went to find her girlfriend and asked her girlfriend to pick up the little boy from the school. And so her girlfriend said, how can I pick up the little boy? So the stepmother said, well, you can, I'll tell you the name. You just pretend that you were the cousin. And then the girlfriend said, would he follow me? And then the girl, and then the stepmother said, yeah, you just pretend that, and just say that the father is waiting for him. The boy would follow you. And so this girlfriend actually wore a wig and wear some sunglasses and pretended that she was the cousin of the boy and said that she wanted to pick up the boy to see his father. That school, they were not very strict in who can pick up the child. And they just asked the child whether he wanted to go with the lady. And then the boy said, oh, of course, because that was a little boy, and the lady said his father was waiting for him in the restaurant, so the boy was very happy, and he loves his father, and he didn't thought too much, and he just followed the lady to the car. After, and so the boy get to the car and sit beside the driver, and then his stepmother actually was hiding behind some clothes at the back seat. When the car was driving, his stepmother strangled the little boy. So in short, she was, because the boy was very young and she strangled very hard, so she actually killed the little boy. And her girlfriend didn't do anything, didn't interrupt them. And then she stopped. Then the girlfriend said, how can you kill that, your son, you mean your stepson? But the stepmother said, well, if I killed him, actually you have fault too, because you picked up the child. The teachers would prove that you actually, you were the one who took the child. And so the girlfriend suddenly realized that she actually did something wrong. And so together they went to find a discarded mine, and then they burned the child's body and buried him. And when the boy's mother went to pick up the boy, and he couldn't find the boy, and then he called his mother, and his father said, no, I haven't come back yet. And then the school, and the school said somebody picked him up, and so the mother immediately called the police, and so and they said, oh, actually somebody named this who was the child's cousin picked him up. And so they said, so there was the school secretary who released the child, and she actually had an impression of that girl, because she well, at that time she remembered that the girl was wearing wigs, and but she didn't pay too much attention, because at that time there were a lot of ladies who wear wigs. And when they found anyone who had the same name, they found that it wasn't him. It wasn't the lady who picked up the girl. But anyways, the police eventually found the stepmother and also her girlfriend, and they found out. So the stepmother was sentenced to life imprisonment. And the stepmother's girlfriend was imprisoned for 25 years. This girlfriend, she should have stopped the car earlier, and she was just have no mind. But the stepmother was very, very cruel. And that was a true thing, a true story that happened.
I don't know if the stepmother has regretted afterward, but the story sounds very cruel. She was pregnant herself and she was going to become a mother. Maybe she will really love her biological child. And in her diary, she wrote that she hated his stepchild and hated her husband because the stepchild has stolen all her husband's love. She treated her stepchild as somebody who intervened and stolen all the love. So she became jealous, and there was hate, and in the end she wanted to kill the child. Uli says that maybe it started from jealousy. She was jealous of her husband's first child. We've usually seen jealousy between different women, but in this case, this is a stepmother who is jealous of her stepchild. And her jealousy is so extreme. I don't know how this type of jealousy arose. If we truly want to understand something, then we need to dig deeper. First is because of love. The stepmother wants to receive the complete love and the complete time of her husband. I think many newlyweds and young people would want to have this sort of environment. Say, young newlyweds, they live together and there's no elderlies. But if the husband is always going away for work, but when he comes back, he's worried about his son and wants to see his son. This is normal. But the stepmother didn't think about the entire situation in her husband's viewpoint. But I think it's related to her age. She was only 22 years old. Although she can be regarded as an adult, but she doesn't have insight of human nature. From Buddhism, it actually shows the suffering of the flourishing of the Five Aggregates. She was too selfish. She wanted her husband's money, love, and she only wanted her husband to look at herself and no one else. And although you are my husband's child, but you are not my child. And that's why she didn't want him. Uli is asking, would she be jealous of her own baby? Master says after he thought about it, no matter how cruel this woman is, she might really love her own biological child. But she is also selfish, so she would repel against anyone else that is not her own child. With such an environment, these thoughts will arise naturally. Although it didn't happen to you, you wouldn't feel this way. But if it does happen to you, you could understand. But to her, whether you are adapted to this environment or not, you shouldn't have killed your stepchild. We've heard stories of stepmother who were bad to their stepchild, but very few of them would have killed their stepchild. And she killed her stepchild because of that, because she hated him. And this hate arrived from love, because she wanted more love. And so hate arose from love, and from hate also arose murder. Love and hate and murder. From murder, somebody died. So love and hate, death and birth. Also in some love relationships, some of these relationships are explosive, are very fiery. If one person doesn't love the other, then one of them might kill the other. Some people are very possessive in such loving relationships, and if they don't get it, they will want to destroy the other person. When I analyzed the action of this stepmother, she acted because of love. So love created murder? Yes. And it's all about love. When we analyze the story of Mr. Zhang and the other stories, their perception is wrong, and because of this wrong perception, it creates a bad result. If the stepmother really loved her husband, if she could enlarge her viewpoint and included us, we, then it would be the love for a family, and it would include the stepchild. If she could have a wider perception, she could learn from the stepchild how a 10-year-old would behave, and maybe she could better educate her own child when her own child is 10 years old. So there could be positive outcomes, but she couldn't see any of it. She was just she was excluding everyone else. Master says, if we want to prevent such things from happening, it's all about manners, how to use a loving heart to tolerate, to include everyone who is related to the one that you love. Wuli says that we need a correct viewpoint of love. Master says, what is the correct viewpoint? Usually people will say, I love him, so I'll marry him. If I love this guy, I will be nice to this guy, and I won't be nice to the in-laws because I didn't marry the in-laws. Why should I be filial to you? You are not my parents, let alone your aunts, uncles, or sisters. Even if I have money, I won't give it to you. Some people will think like this. Such people lack a wider understanding of family and society. So our friends online, JinBodhi says, let's review Master's lessons of family precepts. Master has already talked about these in it. Master says marriage is between two families. And you two who are sleeping on the same bed are representatives of two families.
女方来说，让你的老公爱你一辈子，
If you
请
want,
你也爱他们的家人。
say that if you are a woman
你才
and
能
you want your
最
husband
基
to
本上
love
保证
you
你的婚姻。
for the entire life, then
就是
you
这样
should
的。
love his family
所以
members
是两个
too.
家族的事，
Only
一
then
定要
can
学
he
会这
love
样来
you
看待事
longer.
情，对吧？
And that's
你
how
换
you
个角
should
度
view
说，
it.
比如说，
Let's see it from
你
another
恋爱的这个
perspective.
对象，这个
Say
咱说
that
这个男生吧，
the
养小狗，
guy that you love
这个
has
女人就讨
a
厌小狗，
dog,
但
but
是
you
男的
hate
是爱
dogs.
狗如命，
But the
但
guy
是这个男的
loves
又很好，
dogs,
你很喜欢，
and the
非要
guy
跟他
is
结婚，
very nice, and you
请
really
问
want to
因为
marry
这条
him.
狗，你给他结不结婚？
And so my question is, would you marry
一
him
般孩
if
子是
he
为了
has a
结婚而
dog?
结婚嘛，对不对？
Some
你不
people
能说
will
因为有
marry
狗就不结婚嘛。
even there
而且呢，
is a dog,
那还
even
有一种
if
做法
she
说，
hates
趁老
dogs.
公不在的时候我就虐待这个狗，这
And
样做对吗？
would you harm
先
the
不要
dog
说合不合
when
法，
your
说对不
husband
对，
is
这
not
不
there?
对。所以打
No,
狗
it's
欺
not
主，
right.
对不对？
In
所以小
Chinese,
张
we
踢
say
了
that
人
if
狗
you
一脚，
harm
那
the
狗
dog,
骂
you are
来了之后
harming
给
the
他
dog
玩命，
owner
那是
too.
正常的事情，
So when
对不
Mr.
对？
Zhang
今天
harmed
我
the
们讲到
dog,
爱
the
众
dog
生，爱
owner
护动
come
物，
to harm
对不对？
him.
这个是
We
对
talk
的。
about loving
所
all
以你不
sentient
能说
beings and loving all
我只爱
animals.
的是小张，
You can't say
所
that I
以
only
你养的
love
狗，
Mr. Zhang,
说你不
and
保护，你
so
不在家我摔死它。
I don't
请问
love
你
your
还要不要
child
婚
and
姻？
I
还有
will
你要不要你的
I
命
don't
呢？
love his dog
那
and
遇
I
上
will
残
kill
暴
the
的
dog
男人会怎么
when
修
you're
理
not
呢？
there.
能从
Do
楼
you
上把你
still
扔下
want
去
your
吗？
life?
对不
If
对？
you
一般大家
are
一受
married
伤，
to
大
a
家都
someone
通通
who
女
is
的，
very
女的身
cruel,
体会
what
弱
will
一
he
点，对不
do
对？
to you?
但是多少人因为修养的问题，他那种
Many
攻
people,
击性、
because they
那
don't
种
have
尖
well
刻性、那种
manners,
排他性，
they
真
are
是也
very
形成于杀人
um
狂。所以很多
they're
人就
like
是不
killers,
能
they're
包
very
容他结
cruel.
婚的对象家庭的一切，就属于正
If
常
you
关系的一
cannot
切，而毁掉自己的婚
involve,
姻。
if you cannot include your partner's
所
family,
以
you
我
might
们
be
一般人
destroying
我
your
再进行纠正一
marriage.
下哈，
So let's
我
continue
们
to
把
deep
恋爱
in, to
推
dig
广的
in.
是那么至高无上，那
Some
么纯洁无
people
比，对不对？
view loving relationship as pure and noble.
但是，
However,
难道爱情是慈善吗？
is love
爱情是慈
a
善事业吗？
charitable
爱情
cause?
是修行吗？
Is
爱情是
love
解
a
脱吗？
cultivation? Is
不是。
love
爱
freedom?
情是自私，
No, love
你
is
为了获
selfish.
得爱，所以才爱别人。
You
有人
love
说
other
不是啊，
people
我为对方买
because you
鞋、
want
买吃
love.
的、买好
Some
的、
people say,
买玫
no,
瑰，
I will
是
buy
吧？
him
买牡丹，
shoes,
买房，买了这么
roses,
多东西，买名表、买首
flowers,
饰，你还
watches,
是
and
为了你
jewelry.
所爱的那个人要获得那份爱，或
Because
得
you
到那个
want
人，
to
甚至还
you
有
want
那
to
个人
have
背
that
后的家
person,
庭
you
与
want
资
to
产，
have that
你才
person's
投入这
love,
么
you
多的
want
成
to
本，
have that
就像
person's
钓鱼一样，准备
family
钩子上
and
那个
asset.
鱼饵啊，为了
It's
把它
like
能
you're
勾住的
you're
话，要弄一
fishing.
些鱼爱吃的那种
And to
虫子啊，
fish,
勾
you
到那
need
钩子
to
上才能，
have
你要
fish
那个鱼
food
它上钩啊，是不是？
so that the fish can be
这是你
hooked.
的爱情投入的成本。
This is
那你说，那你
what
这么
you
一说，
put in.
这个爱情就没有纯真的吗？有纯
This
真
is
的。
what you put
难
in
道爱情
into
建立在
love.
空气上吗？
Is there no pure
所以
love?
才有了说，
There is. But love is not built.
我们
on
中有
thin
那句
air.
话叫一见钟情，对不对？
There's a
所以
saying,
觉真，我们就随便我们讨
love
论
at
嘛哈。
first sight.
只是
Let's
青年人说，我
discuss
一
it.
见这个帅哥，一
Say
见就
that
爱
young
上他了。
people, if they
一
have
见这个
love
帅
at
哥我就
first
爱上了，
sight,
请问见的是什么？
what
长相
what have they sighted?
看
你
气
这人
质，
太
Their
低级了
their
当然你是代表大
appearance.
众说的哈，
是我也一样。
Jujun
也
says
一样
their
哈，
appearance.
知错就改哈。
好，
还有看到啥嘞？
What else do you see? Master
比如
asked.
说装扮、
装扮
行头。
Their
人的
clothing.
代步工具是什么？是自行车还是跑车？
Their
摩
vehicle.
托，
Do they have a
还蹬了个滑板儿
motorcycle, a bike,
是吧？还骑了个驴
or
来的，
a skateboard,
对
or
吧？
do they
这
ride
怎
on
么
a
样考验呢？
donkey?
是吧？今天咱们说了那么多开跑车的不好，说今
We
天真
talked
有一个
about
人
so
长得很
much
帅
bad
又
things
很文
about
雅，
sports
真开了
cars.
辆
But if
几百万
somebody
的跑车
is
来，你
very
难道心不动吗？
very
人长得又
handsome
帅，说话
and
又彬彬有礼，
well mannered, and he drives a nice sports car,
你上不
would
上
you
车我
fall
们
in
不管，
love at first sight?
对吧？我
Jujun
们只
says,
管是这个
I
理，你
will,
心
but I
动，
won't
心
step
动就
onto
是
the
出轨。
car. Master says, but your heart has moved, right?
因为我们盯着的时候你不上车，一拐弯你就上车去了。
When we're looking at you, you won't get on the car. But when we're not looking, you will.
没敢上车是有众目睽睽
You don't dare to get on the car because there are people looking at you, and you are bound by ethics.
对不对？
But when people are not looking, you won't be bound by ethics. Or you might ask a guy to leave first, and you will follow up later.
是。所以爱情的本身，我们在研究下爱情的本身，它的意义
So love
是为了获得。
So love, the meaning of love is to
爱
receive.
情有觉得稍微纯高一点的。
There are
我们的举例，
noble
如果
love.
说
For example,
今天我要找到今天这个帅哥，你说跑车也好，高级轿车也好，
if you meet a
收入
handsome man
职业
today, whether
都是
he
很好。
has
我发
a
现人
sports
品也
car
很好，
and
我觉
he's
得
well
下
mannered
证们又人品
and
又好，
has a good job
是吧？长得老帅了，
and
高富帅，
he's
都
very
有。
handsome
但是
and he has
那么多美
everything,
女不要，专要你的黑
but
珍珠
he doesn't want any beauty, he just want you.
啊，
我就感
A
觉
black
这个太
pearl
虚幻了，我就
像
不相信。
吃饭一样，吃哪道菜的都有。
It's like
就有人认你这
it's
个菜，
like
对不对？
你没有拒绝的
eating.
理由啊。
People want all sorts of different
不踏
dishes.
实，不踏实
Jurgen
你领
says,
证嘛，
I won't feel
这领
safe,
了结婚
I
证嘛，
won't feel secure if he
是吧
loves？
我
me.
领了证，
那领了
But
证只能
if you
结
feel
对吧？
unsecure, then
已
you
经
can
领
get
证，你
married.
妈替以前的字儿哈，把你给
Master
带出
says,
去了，
okay,
是
you
吧？
guys get
这人对
married,
你还真挺好的。
and
咱
he's
别说
very
你，
nice
一
to
说到
you.
一个人头上就
Let's
就
now
不好举
use
例
you as an
这
example.
这
Let's
证明
talk about somebody else.
他找了个这样
Jurgen says, it's okay,
不
you
是
can
你
use
说
me
好
as
就是
an
假的都那么
example.
开心，咱们说这是别人
But
好吧？这是假设的，
This
跟你
is
无
an
关好不好？
example. It has nothing
这
to
与你
do
无
with you.
关，好吧？
Okay.
说与你无关是有原因的啊。
I'm saying it
与
has
你无
nothing
关。
to do with you
可是这帅
because
哥这么帅，
also he
和
is
你
very
结婚一个月
handsome.
以后
And 1 month
第一个
after he married
宣布
you,
破产了，
first he
原来公司
announces
有
that
10来
he
个
is
亿呢，
broke.
结
So
果
his
被法院起
his
诉，一清算之后还欠人家2个亿。
billion-dollar company is broke
老公
and
本来是一个
has
高大帅的
$2
人，是
billion
不
dollar
是？
debt.
就变成高大胖，
And although he
身体
was
呼一下就发
handsome
胖了，因为受不了啊，
and
受不
he
了，
couldn't
天天
take
的
it
吃，
anymore and he
反
starts
正欠
binge
那么多钱，对不
eating
对？家里
and
面包还总有吧？
he gains a lot of
买
weight
吃，把自己吃成大面包，而且你说话
and
他都不会跟你正常的聊天了。
and when you
傻了，
want to talk to him,
受
he
打击
doesn't
太大，
talk
受
to
刺
you
激了。
normally. His
而且呢，你还经
he
常给
has
他花医
been
疗费
beaten
带他
up
去看病，
and you
他像
now
孩子一
needs
样，
to take
宝
him
宝
to
就是
the
不去，
hospital.
你只能
And
说
he's like a
乖孩
child
子，
now. I don't
必
want
须
to
听
go to
妈的话，
hospital.
走。
And so you
对，
have
你还得就
to
哄孩子一
lure
样，
him
就
to
是
the
老婆变成
hospital.
妈了，得带他去
You
看病，
are not
对
a
不对？
wife anymore. You're like his
那孩子
mother
吓着
taking
了，
care of him.
是吧？因为这个事儿太
So
刺激了，
he
睡不着。
was,
哎，你的哄宝贝啊，妈妈来拍
and
你，
you have
拍的
to
屁股睡着了，还得睡觉都这么哄，对不对？
take him
对，
to
请问你能
bed
哄吗？
and
那也得吧。
get
还
him
得
to
欠债，
sleep.
欠债，因为你们是夫妻嘛。
And but you guys
如
are
果资产
married,
共享，
and
请
so
记住，
you
债务也
share
是
an
共享，
asset, and also
对
you
吧？
will
一
share
起
his
还债，
debt.
你还最后得了病，老公
And
他
so
不
you
吃
are
饭
also
不吃
taking
药不
care
看
of
病，
him,
你还都
taking
是
care of his
花了钱
health,
出了力，还得哄着你去
and
做这件事儿。
you are
你这
also
就像前辈的欠人家似的。
it's as if you own him
请问这
in
算
your
爱
past
情？
life.
我说的真有这个人，这个事
So
儿，这个人
say
还挺帅。现在他的债还没还完，
say
我要给
that
网友推
this
荐一下，有没
person
有大龄女士 想和他在结
if
婚的？
this person
万一
really
他有一天
exists,
啪像周
does
润发一样被
anyone
激发的时候，
online
是吧？
wants
双枪
to
一掏
marry
之后到
him?
赌场又赢
Say
回来
that
了，
what
又
if
是亿万身
he's
家，
like
是吧？
周
你
润发
大概
and
别错
one
过
day
他
he
在重新
suddenly
咸鱼翻身的机会，
gambles
对不对？
and makes a
哎
lot of
早点
money
嫁给他，
and
反正
anyone
这个人真
do
的
you
在，
want
这
to
个事儿
marry
是真
him?
的。
Say that if he is a
有没
real
有人想接
person,
手？
would
就像卖
anyone
个烂
want
房子一
to
样，他太太说
take
只要
him
接手我就
over?
送给他，
If
而且
the
我不
wife
要一分的
says,
手续费，
if anyone
我
wants
算白
to
养这
take
10来
over,
年，
then you can
有
take
没人
him.
要？如果有要的网友赶快报
If
名
you
啊！
want
不
to
是开玩
take
笑
him
啊。
over, then leave me a message. This is not a joke.
那这个伺候他的太太，
The
我认
wife
识
who
他，
has been
我就问
taken
他，
care of this guy,
有一天这
I
个心
knew
情
the
调试
wife.
特别好的时候，
And so
我说
one
特别
day
开
I
心的时候，
asked the wife,
我说你，
I
我觉得你
said,
挺不容易的，
I
一说那
think
眼
that
泪呼
you
就下来了，
your life is not
像闸
easy.
门一样。
When I said
我
that,
说哎
she
呀，
started crying.
我这前辈的缺了什么德了，
She
是
said,
吧？
I don't know what
就当
bad
年见
thing
他
have
的
I
时候，我
done
们
in
一
my
见
past
钟
life.
情呢。师傅，你看
Back
我怎么
then
为什
when
么
we
一
just
见钟
met,
情呢？
I fell
这是我
in
刚才
love
问这
with
句
him
话。
at first life. How did I fall in love with him at first sight? So I asked him, what did you see? The wife said, she was so handsome, and she had a sports car. And at at our marriage, at our wedding ceremony, there was over 10 sports cars, and a lot of good cars came to the wedding. And we were on the news for several days. And after her husband went broke, they were on the news too. So I asked her, how long did it take for you guys to get married? They were engaged in 1 week and they got married in a month. So I asked her again, what did you see? She said he was handsome, he was very well educated, he wrote poems to me, and I was touched by the poems. Do you remember the first sentence, the first line of the poem? He described me in the poem. He said how beautiful I was. This is not a poet. This is not a real poem. When a person has a lot of money, it's very difficult for him to not be handsome. And the clothing that he will wear would be nice too. And if you guys just want to have coffee, he will probably take you to a 5-star hotel and ask the cafe's manager to make coffee for you. And you might be astounded by this environment. You are treated like a princess. You are probably thinking that I've married Prince Charming. His vehicle is like a white horse to you, right? And all his friends also drive very nice cars. If his watch probably worth more than my father's life savings. And so I asked her, did you marry the guy or his money? She said, probably both. Because he has the money. And so we should think about it before you get married. If on the second day of your marriage, he is disabled, would you continue your marriage? And I asked her, are you tired? She said, yes. Are you anxious? Yes. What about your love? There's no more love. I've been taking care of him for 10 years. So what is love? Is love still noble? Love is built on top of form. I like his appearance. I like how he talks. He has discovered all my beauty. When he wrote the poem, he will write the same lines to everyone. You just feel so comfortable when you hear the poem. And you are impressed by his vehicle, his dress, where he takes you. There is true love. But when you analyze the love, it all falls into the 5 aggregates. It all falls into form. Spending money, his appearance are all included in form. His car is also a form. When he found the manager to make you coffee, he has probably paid $200 more. And these are all materials, these are form, and this form has captured you. But unfortunately, after you got married, you bear his debt, and you cannot run away. So love, there is noble love, but it's still for for your gain and for you to have. It's like when you are shopping. If you are just shopping for something, it has nothing to do with nobleness. If he is in debt, if he is disabled, would you continue to love him? If you do, if you continue to fulfill your duty as a wife or a husband, then you are already very excellent. You already have virtue. In some marriages, if one partner has very bad luck and the other person might run away right away. So fundamentally, love is still seeking for something. Let's take another example. A lot of people online are probably saying that my love has nothing to do with materials. Even when you have love at first sight, it's probably based on something. If he was very ugly, would you love him at first sight? Or maybe because he was very good at talking and his words can make you very happy. Maybe nobody has praised you before and only he found your beauty and he praised you for that beauty. So in the concept of five aggregates, these materials, these appearances all can be categorized into form. So where is that loving relationship arise from? So this love and family relationship might change depending on your health, your wealth, your environment. Even if it's very noble, honorable love, it could change. But although it changes, it might still be able to be preserved. Many people have elevated these love relationships into something that's beyond love, into family relationships and friendships. So let's see through the truth. The stepmom killed the stepson and she hated the stepson. There are many step-parents who hate their stepchildren. It's just that they haven't killed them. But many of them won't be nice to the stepchildren, and they might punish the stepchildren. And such people lack compassion and good manners, and they lack tolerance and benevolence. Why do we talk about this? Because harming others is harming yourself. Yes, the stepmother has killed the stepchild. Originally, she was sentenced to 25 years. And she requested that she doesn't want to leave the prison. Why? If she left the prison after 25 years, she would face the child's father and mother. The father probably said, no matter how long you have been sentenced, I want to kill you when you come out. The biological mom probably wants to eat her. And so the stepmother is scared. She doesn't want to leave the prison. And so Zhang says she is being punished by the law, by justice. And so it saves the biological father and mother, prevents them from harming her and creating more negative karma. So there are a lot of key words in the story. Let's review these key words. There are many opposite pairs. For example, there's love and hate, good and bad.
得和失
gain and loss,
远和近
far and near,
贫和富
poor and rich,
美和丑
beauty and ugly,
甚至好和坏
good and bad,
冷和暖
cold and warm,
善与恶说过了哈
kind and evil,
还有这个分与合
togetherness and
利与
separation,
弊
profit and loss,
阴和阳
yin and yang.
等等这些对应
There are
的关
many
系
more.
也请大家记
These
下来哈
corresponding
它是互生的
relationships
互相
are symbiotic
而你现在变
relationships.
富是因为贫穷给你带来的压力
If
So we
you
are
become
pinning the
wealthier, it could be
等于说在
from the
那
pressure
个丁先
of
生在日本苦苦
poorness.
打工的那个
So
他
Mr.
当然
Ding,
没有
who
合法身
was
份的
working
没
in
发大财
Japan
对不对
because
因
he
为他
was
在
an
任
illegal
何一个国家
immigrant,
他有身份这么
so
努力的
he
人的
was
话一定
working
会
very
成功
hard. If he
对不
was
对
in
一
any
定会获
country
得很大
and
的
he
财
has legal residence
但是
status, he
这个
would
财富的
definitely
来源于
success,
是
be
贫穷
successful.
带给
But
他的
this
压力
wealth
也
came
就是贫
from
穷就
the
是他这样
pressure of poor.
那变成贫穷又是来自于富贵，那富
And
怎么
a
贫
wealthy
穷是来自于
person
富贵
could
呢？
become poor as
你
well.
想，比如
How?
说丁先生拼命努
Say,
力，
for
是因为没
example,
有钱，
Mr. Ding was
尤其
working
结
very
了婚有
hard
了孩
because
子
he
之后，
doesn't
他
have
最
any
起码要
money
养孩子这
and
个
he
责
was
任和压
married
力
and
吧，
he
因
has
为
a
这是爱，
child. So he has
好
the
吧？
pressure
所以我
of
要拼
raising
命
a
努力去
child.
工作，
And
去
because
打
of
工，
this
去
love,
忍
he
受着
works very
忍受
hard
着
and
寂
tolerates
寞、孤独、痛
loneliness,
苦、疲劳、折磨
pain, and
啊，
tiredness
像鬼一
and
样的生
suffering.
活，
He's
他要忍
living
受着，
very
是吧？我要
difficult.
成就，所以这些压力就使
And
他变
because
成
of
了
this pressure,
进取的
this
动力，
pressure
对
becomes
吧？
a
咱们
drive
今
for
天假
him.
设一下，老丁有一天有了
Say
孙
that
子，
one day Mr. Ding
是吧？
has a
老丁和他女
grandson.
儿都能赚大钱，老丁现在已经成了一
Mr.
个大
Ding
餐馆
has
老板了
became
啊，年入100万，是
the
吧？已经
owner
百
of
万
a
富翁
good
了，
restaurant
是
and
吧？他女儿
earns
一年
millions
至
of
少挣几
profit
十万，
every
都
year.
是住大房子
And
啊，富
his
贵了。
daughter
比如说
also
生了孙
earns
子，
several
咱
thousands,
只是
hundred
判断
thousands
分
of
析哈，
dollars
老
too.
丁也别生气哈，这
That's
发生了在任
this
何人
is
身
an
上都可能
example.
的。
It could happen to
是吧？
anyone.
你的孩子同样是智力那么高，
Say that
但
your
是他会去努力的、拼
child,
命的，和
your
你一样去
grandchild
坚韧的
is
去工作嘛，去努
very
力嘛。
smart. Would he
他
work
没有这个
as
动
hard
力，
as you do?
哪里需要他去
Maybe
那
he
么努力
doesn't have
拼
the
搏呢？
drive to work
没
so
有，
hard.
对不对？但是如果同样是这位丁先生，
But say
如
still
果
Mr. Ding,
他老爸是上海的一位，比如说大富翁了，是一个富人，家里
if
有2个小
Mr.
商店，
Ding
对不对？
were
每个
born
月进了好几
into
千，你
a
看他会
wealthy
不会
family,
去日本打
would
工？
he go
他
to
早扛
Japan
住，就是
and
去
work
了
so
也回来。
hard?
说我家
Even
里
if
头
he went,
过
he
得比
would
这好
have
多了，
came
我干嘛
back
受这
right
养罪啊？
away. He
所以
could
扛
live
不
a
住
very
就
good
会
life
回
at
来。
home. Why would he suffer in Japan?
对，就是这样的。所以闹革命的时候，一定要穷人去闹革命。
So
那
usually
富人
it's a
闹革
poor
命一
people
闹，家里
who
家产全没了，所以
who
太不划算。那
will
穷人呢，就光玩一
rebel
个，烂命一
and
条。
start a
我
revolution.
一个人吃饱全家不饿，所以就跟着闹革命，干啥都
These
行啊，
poor
打
people,
苦工。所以
they
很多
don't
比较艰
mind
苦的工作，
and
就
they
是
can
穷人家的
work
孩子去
very
做。
hard.
所
So
以穷富之
many,
间是不是互生的呀？
so poor and
你看看，不管
wealthy,
富人他
poor
多聪
and
明，
rich
你看那
are
孩子有没
is
有
a
特别
symbiotic
拼命努力
relationship.
工作的？有，
No matter
那是万分之
look at
一。
some of the richer families,
我
how
们见
many
到的
of their
很多孩
child
子
would work very
啊，都
hard.
是挺奢
There
侈
will
的
be,
生活，
but only maybe one
对不对？
in
他的
10,000
简单很简单，你
But
这么
most
努力不就是让我们
children
好
in
好的
such
生活吗？
families
那好好生活，最后
will
做样子给你看，我
just
享受生
live
活给
an
你看。
easy life. They will
哦，
just
车是这么
enjoy
车的，
life.
开这种车，吃是这么种吃的，
They have to
是吧？
drive certain car and
一
eat
杯茶
certain
100美金
food.
呢，所以我要这么吃才是
They
能
have
对得起
to
你这
their
么拼命努
cup
力
of tea
赚钱的。
is
就是
$100.
这样的，可不是孩子这么
They
做
have
就
to
是你
spend
想
the
的，
money so that
但是
they
他
can
把钱
spend
花
your
光了呢，第四代
money.
可能努力，说老
But
爸没钱了，
if
他就恨我老
if
爸，我
your
老爸这个败
children
家子儿，
spends all your
吧？
money,
我爷爷留下的钱
then
全给他
their
败光了，
children will
是吧？
start to work very
又
hard.
吸又赌的，结果这我不努力不行啊，学费都没
The
有钱。
the
到你孙子那
grandchild
一辈
will
就拼
say,
命努力，
your grandchild will
就
say
从
that
有到无，
their father
嗯，
has
从有到
wasted
无，
away
从无到
all
有，
the grandfather's money, so they will start to work very hard. So love and hate is the same. So the stepmother tried to receive her husband's complete love and attention. And when she's not satisfied, she starts to find reasons for it. She sees that her husband has spent some time and money on his stepchild. And so she feels that if she got rid of the stepchild, then she can receive all the love. From love to hate to murder. In other countries, she might be sentenced to death. But in US, life sentence is like death sentence. So love brings hate. If somebody suddenly hates you, there will be a reason. Of course, there's another type of relationship. Jealousy could also bring hate. People who are jealous of you are people who knows you. They might say that you're not smart and you don't have a nice appearance. How lucky are you? How did you become rich? And they may be so jealous that they can't sleep. When you see other people get married, you can't sleep. When you see other people get rich, you can't sleep. You see other people buying a house and you cannot sleep. There are so many reasons. There are many reasons that moves your heart. And a lot of the pairs corresponding relationships that we saw earlier are all symbiotic relationships. When you line these relationships up, if we use a number and symbol to represent it, other than symbiotic relationship, it's like math. For example, poor and rich. Between poor and rich, there could be a middle point. For example, you're poor, then if you are $1 million less, then if we show it on a linear graph, between rich and poor, if you find the middle, it's 0. Why do we learn this? Because it's very useful. How do we control ourselves and our hearts? And how do we look at bad issues and good issues? Then we can use these pairs to compare and think. Then we know how to control ourselves. If you are excessively rich, then you could become poor faster. The richest person in the city, the richest person in the province, the richest person in the country are the most likely to have something gone wrong because everyone is watching you. In the Qinghai province where I grew up, at the beginning of the economy reform, there is someone who was very good at doing business. He is a farmer from the suburb, and he's very hardworking. He's not scared of anything. He would find a vehicle, and at midnight he would pick up all the vegetables from his neighbors and drive to the farmer's market and sell the vegetables. and he made a lot of money and became wealthy. And then he bought another vehicle, and he bought another motorcycle, and later on he bought a car. And after he bought a car, the villagers starts to realize that, whoa, he became rich. At that time, I knew a young boy who was 10 years old. I was in my teenage years too. And he asked me to go with him to Mr. Hu's place. And I asked him, why do you want me to bang on his door? He says, because he's too rich. And he took me there, and he picked up a rock and threw the rock into their yard. And when Mr. Hu called out, who is it? And we ran away. And he wanted me to go with him again. I didn't dare to go. I asked him why. He says that I see him rich and I feel bad. But remember how old he is. He was just 10 years old. He took another child who was 12 years old and sabotaged Mr. Hu's car, sabotaged his tires, and also his side view mirrors. If such a child felt so bad, felt so jealous, how bad would his father feel? Although his father probably didn't set a fire to Mr. Hu's place, but his father was probably having the fire of jealousy in his heart. So when we are successful, things that you can't imagine will happen. So there's a type of hatred that comes from jealousy. When these unhappy things arise, so this 10-year-old child, I talked to him several times, but I couldn't understand him. I asked him, was Mr. who became rich, was he not nice to you? He said he was nice to us. He actually lent us $200 so that we could take my mom to see a doctor. And he gave me the money right away. And even when the 10-year-old throws a rock at Mr. Hu's place, his father still hasn't paid Mr. Hu back yet. I asked him, where does your feelings come from? You're so young. I wanted to find out. How are you so jealous? The young child said, I don't know. It's just when I saw his truck, I just feel very angry. He really was angry. So I asked him, how does your parents feel? My father was so angry that he just walked around at night. He couldn't stand how rich Mr. Hu became. So I knew that it doesn't matter how old you are. When we have the 5 poisons, when we are affected by the emotions of greed, hate, ignorance, arrogance, and doubt, these emotions will arise suddenly when we meet people who are better than us, whether they have better grades, they are better at creativity. People who are better than us, we might feel uncomfortable. What is that uncomfortable feeling? Is it still jealousy? Why do you feel jealous? Because you're uncomfortable? These uncomfortable feelings arise. And when that happens, it harms, it murders. For example, Mr. Zhang was scolded by his manager, and he harmed the dog. And he didn't imagine that he would slap the dog owner. He didn't know that he would fight with the dog owner's husband. But when these troubles arise,
还不如一个动物，人家变成
human is no better than an
失控的
animal.
机器一样。
Humans are
他那
like
个
uncon-
整个踢狗打人的
are
这个过
like
程哈
machines that are out of
他变成了
control.
疯子。
When he was harming that dog, he became
没有
a
了理
crazy
性。
person. He lost all his
网友还会
sense.
问，那这个没有理性是什么原因呢？首先
People
叫做
might
无知
ask, why did he lose his
因为
sense?
你不懂，
Because
你不懂应该用什么
he
样的心
doesn't
态去工
understand.
作。
He's ignorant. He doesn't
对？
know
那一个人给狗
He
一脚，
doesn't
那
know
么小
how
狗也不会
he
咬你，冲
should
你汪汪两声，
work.
那狗也不会汪汪，
And
大家不会买狗呢，对不对？
He doesn't
所
understand
以
that
汪汪
all
两
dogs
声那么小的
bark.
狗，它那种
It's just a
这
very
是宠物
small
狗，
dog.
你又没
It's
得
a
到
pet
伤害，
dog,
你
and
为
he's
什么
not
去踢它
the
呢？
dog's not going to harm you. Why do you have to kick the dog?
所以这没有修养，
And so he
没有
doesn't
学
have
习，
any manner. He has no
才
knowledge.
做出这么愚蠢的动作，
And that's why he
最后才被关进了
did
监狱。
such a stupid thing. That's why he was jailed.
那接下来会引发的可能，
And
太
then
太
what
一
else
看，
will happen?
这么一个小男人，这么狭隘心胸的男人，
His wife
让我们
might
一起
say
跟着
that
背黑锅。有
my
可能人
husband is such
太多了一种，
narrow-minded, and
我不跟
maybe
你过
his wife will
了，
leave
你
him.
进监狱，我跟你离婚。
You are
我以
in
为你是
jail
个
and
英
I
雄大
want
丈夫男
to
人，
divorce
你
you.
做这么
I
荒诞的
thought
事
you
情，对
were
不
a
对？
big
害得
man.
我们
I
跟着
thought
一起给你
you
还债，
are a
受气，
hero.
我不跟
But
你
you
过了。
did such a bad thing, and I don't want to live
这
with you
个是一个
anymore.
很合理的呀，
This is reasonable for the
对不对？
wife, right?
所以它会引发很多的后面的问
So
题。
it will start many other issues in the future.
所以我刚才说，
So we
就
said
是一见钟情
love at first
啊，
sight.
见是见到了那个东西，
Sight, what did you see?
所以那是最初级的了。
That is
更
the
高的
very
部分，
elementary.
大家以后就会慢慢学到，
We will
要
learn
提升我们
higher
的知识面，
levels later on
提
in
升我
the
们的修
future.
养，
So we
提
need
升我们
to
的见地。
increase our
见地就是
manner, improve our
所谓的就是那种
sight,
高
our
度，
comprehension,
看事物的高度。当你
the
什么都
level
不
of
学，
our
你能有那高度吗？
comprehension. If you
都不
don't
懂什么
learn
叫见
anything,
地啊，什么高
you
度啊？
can't
只是
ascend
宽
your
容，
level.
你有吗？
Do you
我有
have
啊，别人骂
tolerance?
我没还手，别人骂你20句，你还不还手呢？对吧？
If
他们
people
需要
scold
去来
at you, would
学
you
习这些东西，
talk back?
学习你的这
You
种
need to learn.
心灵的东西。
You need to learn these
中国人把它叫修心，
spiritual cultivations.
修心。
In Chinese,
才
we
是真
call
的
the
修行。
cultivation of the heart.
就像那个
Cultivation
谁
of the heart
嗯
is true
六祖慧能
self-cultivation.
曾经见2个小沙弥，就2个小和尚，看见那个
Zen
那个
Master
经幡
Liu Zu 慧
被
能
吹
has said
被风吹动，是吧？
that there's a story
有一
of
个
him with
有一个人就
two
说， 师
two
兄，你
little
看
monks.
这是
One monk says,
风在动还是帆在动？
one monk asked, is
所以就
the
回答
wind
说，
moving or
那
is
是帆在
the
动。
flag moving?
师兄说，
The
那是
monk
风在
answered,
动。
one monk answers, it's
慧能
the
怎么
flag
说？
that's moving. The other says,
心
it's a
动。
wind that's moving. But
这个事情
Huineng,
乍一听
Master
的时候，
Huineng says,
就
it's your
乍一
heart
听觉得
that's
慧
moving.
能大师讲的没有道理，是什么大
When
师？
you think about it, you feel that Huineng's answer
他
doesn't make
看到的
sense.
东西，在他心中影像出来，难道是
You
心
have
在动
saw
吗？
something
他为什
and
么尤其是指
you
心
understand
在
it
动？
as
是心
your
在
heart
动，
is moving. Is it your heart
是
that's
指
moving?
这就叫做见地，是
This
对所有
is
的事物
this
来
is
起到
your level
最
of
决定性、最重要的那
consciousness.
个见地中的，像尤其是在五蕴之中的色、
In
受、想、行
the
识的
five
识，
aggregates,
识就对事物的见地
consciousness
和认
is
知。
how you see these issues and things.
你想看那个东西在动，
If you want
所以
to
你心
see
有所想，
something
心有
move,
所动，
it's
所以才
your
看才
heart.
动。
When your mind sees it
像我们在
move,
草原说，我要看那个鹿
when
在
your
跑，
mind has
那
something,
那
then
鹿
you
有
see
没有鹿
it
在跑？
move. Say
那
that
小猫呢？看
when you're
路上
on
有
the
没有老鼠在
prairie,
跑？
you want to
所以
see a
它的
deer,
心，它的意念
so
一
you
动的
you
时候，
try to
找
find the
老鼠，
deer.
所以
And
它的行为
if
就跟着
a
是找老
cat
鼠。
wants to find a mouse, it will
那这个
start
心
to
就叫
look
意
for
识，
a mouse. And that heart,
所
we
以在
call
佛法之
it
中也称为叫识，
consciousness.
就是对事物的认知
In
与想象。
Buddhism, it's
叫
called
识，色
consciousness,
受想行识。
how
那么这个
your
色呢，
comprehension of
是指
something.
通常可见的、
And form are the things that you can sense, you can touch, you can see, you can hear. And things that happen are all called form. Sensation is feeling. Say that when you see someone who's eating horsong, and after you see them eating it, after a while you will taste it yourself, and that is a sensation. If you see other people in a love relationship, you might feel happy for them, and that is a sensation. That sensation comes from what you have sensed, what you have received. Perception is your thinking and your judgment. Perception determines your action, but perception is not the highest. The highest is consciousness. Perception is just the part of thinking that is part of the action. Say that your family wants to build a house. The decision to build a house is consciousness, but how you build the house, what type of house is built, is the perception. And the action of building the house is a mental formation, is a formation. And when you see the house and you are very happy, this is a sensation, and the house itself is form. So the five aggregates: form, sensation, perception, mental formation, and consciousness. From what we see, from what we cannot see, from our mental state to our consciousness, it could all bring us many good and bad. In everything that we do, it all has it all contributes to the good and bad, to what you want to do now or future. Don't just think on one simple side. Don't just think on the good side, but also think on the negative side too. For example, it's like a pharmaceutical company that's researching on a drug. If the drug is to heal a cold, but you also need to look at the side effects. Maybe the drug will harm your liver or kidneys. And so some pharmaceutical companies will say that you cannot take the drug for more than 7 days. If you take the drug continuously for more than 7 days, then it will harm your kidneys. If a drug doesn't, if a pharmaceutical company is irresponsible and they don't write it, then people might take the drug and be harmed by it. So the five aggregates is very important to our comprehension of the world. To determine if we are successful at doing something, it's all determined on the level of our consciousness. Many people's decisions are based on the profit that they can see right away. For example, I'm trying to get into the university, and if I become a doctor, I can be rich. But do you know how difficult it is to be a doctor? I've seen a very scary act. Do you know how sharp the needle is? And if you are not careful, you would punch yourself with the needle. And say that if you are injecting other people, but you are not careful, after injecting your patient, you have punctured yourself too. What if you get infected with something? I remember there is a hospital where they are supposed to give a medicine, but instead of the medicine, they injected the patient with alcohol, and the patient died right away. You just think that if you get into medical school and when you become a doctor, you would be rich. But you need to know that in any career, in any action you take, you have to see the whole picture. You have to observe and research the whole picture. And also, in some things, in a short period of time, there is profit. But in the bigger picture, in long term, there will be bad results. And some people, they forget to resolve the bad, to resolve and prevent bad things from happening. So for a person who wants to live a longer, live happier, live safer, then you have to start to research. You have to increase your level of consciousness, and that includes knowledge and education. We need to learn more. You can learn some from me, although it's not a lot, but at least you could understand and make fewer mistakes. When I tell these stories, I don't want to attract you. I want you to learn from these stories. In today's content, the most important content is the understanding of the 5 aggregates and what to do afterward. So we have to elevate our level of consciousness. If you cannot level up your consciousness now, it's okay, we can continue our lesson. And once you have that consciousness, we need compassion. Compassion will treat all these issues. Although I don't have a very large viewpoint, but because of compassion, I will not harm, I will give, I will help. And that will change your fate. Say, for example, if Mr. Zhang is compassionate, because of compassion, he will change his mind. Thank you, manager. Thank you for teaching me. Then how happy will the manager be? Maybe he will make Mr. Zhang an office leader. Today, what we talked about, it's how you can receive benefits. Don't listen to Buddhism and get scared or not understand it. I am not a smart person and I can understand it. If I can understand it, I can help you to understand it. Once you understand it, you can benefit from it. Although we might not understand other principles, if you can put compassion in your heart, then your life can start to change. These negative karmas could become kind karmas. Say, in the story of the $1 coin, if the father could invite the person who helps the child to their family, and maybe he can help him to sell his antiques, and then he can make some money, and it's not large compassionate heart. But if you can treat other people with kindness, you can turn bad things into good things. You can turn good things into brilliant things. And that's why we say when we have certain amounts of merit and virtue, you don't need to be smart to make money. Because you are compassionate, because you treat other people with compassion, other people will bring you money. But what about other types of smart? You have to use your intelligence to calculate, to trick other people to gain profit. And people with a true wealthy fate doesn't need to have these trickeries, and they can get a lot of money. So online friends, if you want to become richer, if you want to have a happy and healthy and successful life, you have to continue to listen to my lessons in the future. You don't have to listen, but I am a Buddhist, and I want to share with you so that you can stop suffering and become happy, and so that you can change your mistakes and live for the better. If you have listened to my teachings and you have avoided misfortunes and you have a good marriage and you have good families, then I will be happy. I just hope that you can leave sufferings behind and become happy. And that's why I teach such deep principles.
过去在，尤其是有个典故，苏东坡那个时期，是不是？和他一起共事的那位禅师，佛印禅师的对话当中，他尤其是讲到八风吹不动，稳坐紫金台。
There is a story saying that I cannot be moved by 8 winds. What are these 8 winds?
屋里读一下。
The 8 winds are also called the 8 vicissitudes of life. There is good repute, ill repute, loss, gain, praise, censure, sorrow, and happiness. And these are all corresponding pairs, and I've labeled it with positive one and negative one.
那这种东西呢，其实应该都是精神层面的，对不对？
And so these are all in the aspects of your mind. If you receive praise, would you be happy? If you receive a profit, would you be happy?
人家给你讲笑话，让你快乐了。
When other people are telling you a joke, will you be happy? If some people tells you, if you lose your business, if you are not healthy, you are probably troubled. And if your family is broken, you will be suffering, right? And also, there are other sufferings too. And these 8 points, they are all corresponding, they are all symbiotic. And also, when you run into these issues, how do you view it?
像刚才我们讲的故事那样，
In our story, if Mr. Zhang's manager scolded
批评
him,
这个行为，如果在这个八苦之中，你打开
this
看看
scolding,
哪一类
what does it count? Where does it fit in?
你可以称为积和悔，
You
或者
could
苦
call
你的
it
苦是一种感受
suffering,
嘛。
or you
都是
could
负面
call
的，对
it
不对？
censure.
但是
And
如果
these
你
are
用
all
慈悲的
negative,
心来
right?
看它呢，
But what if you see it with a compassionate heart?
它立刻就变成了利益，
Then right
它对你是
away,
有利的。
it will
虚
become
心接受，还要欢喜接
profitable.
受，对不
It's
对？
beneficial to
甚至
you
老板都会教你几
if
招。
you will accept
可
that
是你
with
一下
tolerance
烦恼心起
and
来了，
happiness.
烦恼心起
Then
来
maybe
之
your
后
boss will teach you
本
more.
来从一个空间
But
一个
when you
空
are
闲的，立
troubled,
刻变成了一大块石头，
you have changed
什么都接受不
from
了，
an empty
碰到哪哪里坏，
empty container to a stone.
是吧？
You cannot receive anything. And
所以这个
you
八
will just
风的
break
这个
apart.
四种好，四种坏，
And so these 8
都是我们的精神感受。
worldly
几
winds,
乎每天
there
都
are
会有这八种
4
东西当
good
中，至少有
aspects
2种
and
出
4
现在
bad
你的
aspects.
心里头。
Every day, at least
每天
2
至少有2
aspects
种，
will show
无
up
非就是
in
这个
your heart.
多点、少点、大点、小点的问题。
It's just
但
whether
是
how
这些每
much
天都发
how
生。
much will
你只要
show
人
up.
活着，就活着
While
就
a
有这些
person
知
is
觉啊，
living,
有这些感
you
受。
have
但
these
有这些感受
perceptions
比较
and
敏感的人，
feelings,
大家都称为说这个人
and
很聪明，
so we will always
所以聪明人就
feel
很敏
these
感，
aspects.
对吧？
Some smart people are very
比如
sensitive.
现在随便唱一首歌，
Say that if I sing a song,
明月照天空，
a moon
不同
is
的人就不
shining
同的
in
想
the
法。
sky.
那简单
When
的人
you
哦，师傅唱的
hear
歌
me
明月照
sing,
天空。
everybody will
那聪
feel
明一点的说，
differently.
师
Some people will just say that Master is singing about the moon in the sky. Some smart people will say that Master is longing for his home. And some people will overthink and say there's no moon in the sky. You cannot see the moon today. And so people will usually feel that the more someone thinks, the smarter he is. But such people can only make small profits but not large profits. And some people will say these negative feelings, when you feel that you are being insulted at, you are making up that feeling yourself. The other person probably didn't mean it at all. Maybe you are feeling uncomfortable today, and that person is just laughing with your colleagues. You didn't hear anything he said, but then you start to guess. Maybe he's saying bad words about you. And where does that guess come from? It's because you are not confident. And where does inconfidence come from? Because you don't have very good skills. Because you don't have versatile knowledge. And so the answer then would be to learn more. Maybe you don't have to be so versatile, but you can focus on one subject area. For example, when we practice energy bagua, at the beginning, Master Zhang, Grandmaster Zhang told me that you can just practice for 1 hour to 2 hours every day. Just 1 hour every day is enough, actually. And he asked me if practicing for 2 hours is enough. But actually, at the time, my movement was very accurate, so I was very tired. And I persisted. And so later on, I felt as if there is electricity in my hands. And I gained other abilities too. At the time, one of my friends was not very healthy, but he was very intelligent and very good at school. And his mother asked me to teach him energy bagua so that he can have better health. And after a few days, he says that I'm having a test, so I won't practice with you. And after the test, he didn't come either. I asked him why. He says he has a headache. And later on, when he found out that I have gained very good powers with energy bagua, my friend started to tell other people that he is my first disciple. And when other people asked him to heal their illness, he says he doesn't know how to heal because he only walked energy bagua for several days. Although he remembers a little bit of the posture, but he has forgotten about everything. So a smart person, a cunning person, finds ways to replace hard work. But a down-to-earth person would just practice very hard. And when I teach you about these spiritual and aspects, I've already removed the difficult part. And as long as you use it, you can change your fate. We've talked about many difficult stories before, but we have already thought about different ways that the stories could end. If you do it a different way, if the father didn't do this, so our heart is very important. So our heart should be compassionate. Some people might ask if compassion works. Of course it works. It can change our fate. And if we dig deeper into the 8 vicissitudes of life, dig deeper into these sensations, you can see that happiness and pain are symbiotic. It creates each other. So many grandmasters would say that have an ordinary heart. One person might ask a grandmaster, what is awakening? The master might say, just eat some kanji or drink some tea. Don't talk too much. Some people might ask, what is awakening? And they will just say, go and work. Why do they say that? Because in ordinary daily chores, these wisdom can be learned, can be experienced through these actions. You cannot just understand it with your brain. You have to do it. You need actions and your consciousness. Do you guys want to say anything? JinBodhi says, I'm very grateful for Master's lesson. Many people online are saying that they are grateful and their hatred has declined a lot during today's class. And they have some understanding of five aggregates. They thank Master, for example, it's like having a map for their life. So if they run into these issues like Mr. Zhang, they know how to deal with it. So when such things happen in Buddhism, we call it the suffering of the flourishing of the five aggregates. This flourishing is like a fierce fire that's burning. It's the fire of jealousy, fire of hatred. And that's why it's called flourishing. When you listen to these stories, all the harm comes from these fierce fires. The flourishing of the five aggregates from love. Because of love, so I want to kill everyone. You're a stepmom, and how could you kill your stepchild? Why did you do it? Because of that fierce fire that is burning in your heart. Why would Mr. Zhang kick the dog, slap the dog owner, and ban the dog owner's husband? What is flourishing in his heart? It's probably his sensations. Because he has wrong sensations, because he doesn't have compassion and manner. And that's why this ignorant fire is burning in his heart. He couldn't accept anything that his manager says. So I want to remind all the friends online, say that if you run into someone who is insulting you, who is wronged you, who is hating you, you have to think that it is helping you, so that you don't respond. You don't respond back with insult or hate. Also, these negative issues arise, but there is a word for it. It is a brilliant opportunity disguised as adversity. This opportunity, most people will expel this opportunity. They don't like it. For example, have you touched a dog? Have you touched a cat? Many people have pets nowadays. If you like dogs and cats, when you are very friendly, you will touch their body from their head to their tail, and you will follow the flow of their fur. However, if you pet them the other way around, then the dog wouldn't feel comfortable. If something is very smooth, something that's very sweet and very lovely, you have to be very careful because this lovely feeling will make you feel sleepy, will make you feel confused and let down of your guard. But this brilliant opportunity that's disguised as the adversity will drive your emotion. If you're not careful about these opportunities, you might be tricked. But if you add the brilliant opportunity, and if you add that with a brilliant opportunity that's disguised as an adversity, then it's zero. When various emotions come up, you have to see it as zero. When people scold you and you feel very troubled and you're in pain, although I've only done something small wrong and you scold me for 3 days, if you really take it as reality, then you are wrong. If people don't praise you as beautiful, you don't know how beautiful you are. They're just trying to make you happy. When people tries to cheat you, they will of course praise you. If a playboy wants your love, then they will try to spend something and find things that you love. And people who are good at soliciting, they will try to find out what you like, what you need. And they will bring that to you. If a very wealthy man doesn't need anything, but he just misses a snack from his childhood, that person will bring you this childhood snack. And when that happens, you have to be very careful. When bad things happen, don't be so worried. As long as Earth doesn't explode, then it's not the end of the day. If you are scolded or because of your behavior, don't treat it as zero. Reflect and tell the other person that I will change, and don't hate him. If that person has made the right comment, then if we are smart, we need to accept their comment. If what he said didn't happen, then you need to explain. But don't explain when he's the most angry. Wait until he's calmed down. When you need to report your job, you need to learn. You need to learn to observe your manager's emotions. Although some people might be smart, but when they are emotional, everyone's about the same. So when you need, if someone is very angry, and if someone is angry at their child, and you went there to solicit a gun or a bat, then that's wrong. So you have to observe the situation. If your boss is angry and you want to report on your work, then your boss is definitely going to be angry. Can't you be smarter? But many employees are not this smart. Some is because of their age. Some is because they don't have the experience. When your boss is angry and you go to report on your work, then you are looking to be scolded. Go and find your boss when your boss is possessed by a Bodhisattva. And when he's happy, anything is easy, right? So you have to be careful. So I want to remind you, when your emotions arise, between
受想行
good
识
and bad,
这5大方面
there's always
我们
5
可能观察不
aspects
到
of
但是要学会
form,
观察
sensation,
我
perception,
们
mental
接受
formation,
到
and
的
consciousness.
还有正在行动
Although
在
it's
做
very
的
difficult
正
to
在想
observe
的
it,
还有见地的，这些都要注意学会
but we
观察
have
自
to
己。
be very careful
一
and
个最
learn
初
to
级学到的
observe.
人哈，首先先学到的时
People
候
who are
当
starting
你
to
有了
learn
问
it,
题的时候，你有没
first,
有另外一双眼来看自
do
己
you
啊？
have another pair of eyes to look at
有没有
yourself?
发现说自己正在挨骂，自己的情绪
Do
正
you
在快速地
realize
低落？
that you are being scolded at
有没有发
and
现
your
这个低落的过程
emotion
呢？
is
有没有
is
发现自己的
lowering?
火上来了？
Did you realize that
怎么
you
发现的呀？
are getting angrier too?
智慧心、清净心，
And how do you
清-
realize this? You
智
need
慧心就来自于
you
清净。
need wisdom, and that
清
wisdom
净
arises
正
from
是对
purity,
峙
and that
那个
purity
吃剩的烈火，
is
五
the
蕴吃剩的
solution
就是烈
to
火燃烧的
the
非常的旺
blazing
盛。
fire of the
清净
flourishing
的那
five
个部分正
aggregates.
是能灭火的
And
最
this
好的方法
calmness,
真是和它
this
是对抗的。
purity can put out the fire.
所以佛教之中智慧
So
第一
in
的
Buddhism,
文殊菩萨，他
the
所修行的那
Bodhisattva
个
had
环境 叫做什
Vanshu
么？
Manjusri
这叫
Bodhisattva.
清凉
He
界，
lives
叫
in
清凉
the
的世界。
heaven of
所以我之前我说了，
purity,
我们吃的太暖，穿的太
and
暖，
he is
啊
regarded
戴
as
的
the
太暖，
the
胃太暖，
the most wise
人容易
bodhisattva. And we
昏
talked it
沉
before, when
乃至
everything is
到
warm, when our
叫做堕
environment
落，
is warm,
在
bed is
做工
warm,
的时候
clothing is warm, stomach
更
is
容
warm,
易出
it
现
makes us
那种
sleepy and
叫做
daisy.
沉掉。
And even
所以
even
本来
when
坐
we
禅的
are
时候做开梦了
meditating,
啊，
it
坐禅
makes
做
us
梦
sleepy.
不想
Instead of
做梦就是睡觉
meditation,
坐
we
禅就是
are
修行，
sleeping,
它
we
就
are
不一样。
dreaming. Dreaming
所
is
以
different than
你能
meditation.
睡着，就是因为屋里头
So
太温
you
暖。
can fall
这也
asleep
是个问题。
because your room is very
所以
warm.
当我们遇到的问题的时候，遇到的感觉
And
是甜
when
美的、
we
温
run
暖的，
into issues that are
也
very
让我们
warm and
陷
very
入那
lovely,
种温
it
暖
will
的
also
昏庸。
put us into this
所以要想
warm
保持清醒，
dizziness.
就要
If
冷静，
you want to
要
be
冷静
um
啊，
if you want to
种
be
叫做清净
wise
的精神状
and
态，
logical, then
才
you
能
need to keep your
调动
cool.
我们的观
Only
察
when
能力。
we are cool and pure,
能
then we
观
can
察
have the
觉受
ability
到
to observe. We can have the
我发生
ability
和体会的
to
所有的一切，
to realize, to comprehend.
观察关照到
We
我的
can
情绪
observe
的起落，
the
甚至
ups
对
and
这些
downs
事物
of
发
our
生的好和
emotion
坏当中的
and
有一个叫做清净，叫
analyze
做处于零
the
状态
good
的
and
观察
bad,
到，
observe the zero
就像
point.
一个最智慧的法官，
Like a
你们谁冲动我
most
都不冲动，
wise
我要用最
judge,
绝对法律、
he
最清净的
is
眼神
very
来观察
calm
和
and
判
very
断的答案。
peaceful,
这样
and
才行。
he is
有人说
judging
哇，对面
with
是个美女，
the
我
pure
也
eye.
喜欢，本来杀人犯也算了，判我
If
年
the
犯。
judge
那不
likes
所以你不
the
能芳心大
the
动，所以
defendant
保持
because
着
the defendant
冷
is a
静
beauty,
清净的心，
he cannot
才
judge,
能够
he
观察
cannot
到这些问题
lose
发
the
生了，
sentence.
我们才能捕捉
So
到、
we need a
关
very
照到。
pure and cool heart
首先，
to
当我
capture
们发现到
our
这些问题发生
consciousness
的时候，
and
你才
capture
可能
our
去想，
comprehension.
我应该怎么把握
Only
我
when
的
we
行
can
为，
capture
我
these
的感
feelings,
觉，
then we can start to
我的
think,
意
how
念，
do we control our
我的
actions, our
情绪，
feelings, our emotions,
我对这
our
事情的
mind?
判断，
How do we control
都是
my
出于
judgment
清
of
净
this
啊。
issue?
所以清
And
净
all these are
才能
based
产生
on
出智慧的
purity.
眼。
From purity, we can have
对，就是这
the
样的哈。
eye of
所以大家开
wisdom.
始知道一点了哈。对，
So
所以
we have learned a little now.
今天后来我讲的这个内容稍稍有一点点深，但
The
是我相信
concept
大
that
家
I've
也
talked about
可
at
能有所领
closer
会
to
哈
the end is a
对
little bit deeper, and I hope
也
you
希望
have
大家
started
如果
to
没有完全
understand
吃
a
透，
little.
再
If you
多听
didn't
多看
understand
几
it
遍，
completely,
也许
then
会
review
能
this
够更
video
明白一
again.
点。
Maybe you can
当我们
understand
这
a
些
little
东
bit
西学
more
到
of
了
it.
之后，
Once
我
we
们对一
learn
切的
these,
人和事的时候，就容
when
易
we
产生
face
叫做
different
智
issues and
慧心
people, then we can have
啊，
the
看清事
wisdom,
物的
the
本
eye
质，
of wisdom
决
to
定
see
自己
the
的行
truth
为
and
啊，
to
这
determine
才做
our
一个智
actions
慧
and
人，
behavior
就
and
不至
become
于
a
像
wise
前头我们
person,
讲到的那
so
些
that we are not
伤
like
害的
the
故事
people who we have talked about
啊。
in the
对，
stories that have harmed other people and made big mistakes. We need to be wise so that we can live a wise life. And maybe we can develop the eye of Buddha. Alright, that's all for today's class. Because of the time, I've already talked for 3 hours. We were going to have a prize draw. Should we still do the prize draw? Today's prize draw is for people. Today's prize draw is because Grandmaster JinBodhi's Chinese channel has reached 70,000 subscribers, and I was going to give the prize to the first 18 subscribers, but we couldn't find who. It doesn't show who their names, so we will do a prize draw. So we have four lucky vases. There's tea from Taiwan, there's HT from Tibet, and tea from Ali Mountain, and Oriental Beauty tea too. Alright, let's get ready for the prize draw. Jue-Zhen, help me. Alright, let's get started. Stop. Alright, I'm going to pick 3 from this screenshot. The first name is difficult to see. Let's start from the second then. The first is Xiao Yao Zizai, the first winner. The second winner is Jin Chengguo. The third is Da Guangming. Congratulations. Alright. The 3 of you will receive. You will receive a vase. How about the green colored vases and the purple colored vase? Alright, let's continue. Let's take another screenshot. Alright, let's get ready. Stop. The first one is Jingxiang. The second is Du Du. The third is Chu Chu. Du Du and Chu Chu. Congratulations. Alright, the 3 of you will receive an aged Tibetan tea and a box of aged Taiwan tea and a box of Ali Mountain tea. Congratulations. Alright, that's 6 winners already. One more. Alright, let's get ready. Stop. The first is Mei Kun Cha. The next is Xiu Qing 910803. The third person is Tong Guang. Congratulations. Alright, let's find one more. Annie Wang. What's their price? How about tea? All of you will receive Oriental Beauty tea. We all have the same packaging for the teas. Alright, so the 4 of you will receive Oriental Beauty tea. That's 10. Alright, let's continue. We're still on the Chinese channel. It's a Chinese channel that's reached 70,000 subscribers. Alright, the first one is Huai Lai. 怀来.
白云
The second is 白云.
Erica King
Next one
第
is
四位呢
Erica.
叫红葵是吧？
The last one
葵
is
好
红
这四
葵.
位哈
Congratulations.
都是小瓶子。
The four of
七彩
you
宝
will
瓶
receive a lucky vase.
对，这样斜着拿。对，我
Purple
们拿就好了。好，再拿个蓝的
Purple, blue.
好，四个。
还有最后4位吧？
Last four winners.
是哈，好，师傅
好
还有最后4
再来
位哦。
All right,
来
last
再来
four.
1、2、3，停，
Stop.
最后的。
上面这个压着一点能
The
看见
first
是
one
黄玉
is
柳
黄玉
有
柳.
个黄玉柳。第二位果心，
The next one is
第
果
三位
心.
是
The third
跑林
is
跑
Pao
林
Lin Hui.
还一共4位是吧？
4位。
Four,
对
last four,
Oh.
right? The
Annie
last one
Cha
is Annie
恭
Cha.
喜恭喜！
好
Congratulations,
这四位哈
everyone.
他们的奖品是
Your gift
他
will
的奖
be
品是这个，咱们的老茶，
how about some
台湾老茶
HT from
一盒台湾老
Taiwan,
茶，还有一盒青藏的老式茶。
HT from Tibet,
好，还有2盒那个
and
台湾的美人茶，
and
这都是好茶叶，
Oriental Beauty
是非
teas.
常好的茶叶。
These are
越喝
very
越健
good
康
teas.
现在18位了，
All right, that's
18
18
位了。
winners already.
师傅还要再给吗？
Master, should we continue?
那咱们这么光抽到英文平台眼都绿了哈。
We're just on the Chinese channel. People on the English channel are probably
大家同喜同乐嘛。
looking for some prize. Let's go on to the English channel.
来，注意喊喽，开始喽。
All right,
1、
get ready.
2、3，停。
Stop.
Seal 888。
The first one is Siu 888.
第二个是拼 YT。
The next is Pin
第三个是
YT.
艾丽差。
The third is Ali Chia.
第四个是凯瑞
The
桑。
next is Carrie Sun.
4位，
Four
4
winners.
位
All right,
好。
congratulations.
前2位给
The
给那个
first
小
two
彩瓶
will
哈
receive
后
a
2位给茶
vase.
叶哈。
The last two will
好。
receive tea.
再来一次，
再来一瓶。
All right, one
再来
more
一瓶。
screenshot.
开始，
Let's get ready.
滑
开始了哈。
1、2、3，停。
Stop.
好，第一位周月，
The first
是
is
不是
Zhou Yue.
第二
She
位
said
是
Pick me
静
master. The second is
第三位
Jing Zun.
矮
The
男
third is Ai Nan.
第4位腾阔。
The fourth is Teng Kuo.
好，恭喜。
All right, congratulations.
4位的礼品是
And your prize will be
2个瓶子，2
two
盒茶叶。
vases and 2 boxes of tea.
好，韩文平台我们也抽一下。
All right, let's move on to the Korean channel.
韩文的
Korean channel.
开始了哈。
准备开始了，
Let's get ready.
是那个照相功能在那儿。我在这儿。好好，来，开始了。
All right, let's get ready.
2、3，停。
Stop.
长记，
The first one is Changji. Congratulations.
第2位这个是韩语的哈。
The second is all in
第3位是
Korean.
Bella，
The next one is Bella Jin.
第4位是101。
The next one is 101 Orange.
好，
4位，
All right,
4位。
that's 4 winners on the Korean channel.
他们的奖品是
And their prize
奖品
is
是4盒茶叶，
4 boxes
我
of
们一会儿
tea.
任选4盒哈。
好的。
好，我们韩文平台再抽一
All right,
次。
one more screenshot on the Korean channel. There's still a chance.
2、3，停。
Stop.
哇，这谁写那么多？
哦，
The first one is 矮笑.
Cool Catherine.
Next one is
还有一个叫
Cool
金三月
Catherine and 金三月
哎，有钱儿。
and 金有钱儿.
恭喜恭喜。
Congratulations.
这4位呢，给我们这个小彩
These
屏
4 will
都是彩
receive
屏
the lucky
好的
vases.
好的，嗯，
Thank you, Master.
好，今天我这个课程内容讲的是时间有点长哈，
So today's lesson
但是这个
was
内
a little
容
bit
其
long,
实是很
but
难讲，
the content
我只是
is
想让大家
very
能够
difficult to
学
talk
到
about.
能够
I
听
just
懂
hope
才
that
能
you
够
have
应用
understand it
啊
and you could use it.
我个人觉得是很有必要，就是认识事
It's
物的本
very
相真相
crucial
有
to
最重
to
要的
know
关系
these. It's very crucial
对
to
最后呢，我
understand
希望
the
大家
under
都
the
能学有
truth,
所成哈，
and I hope
好，
everyone
祝大家
have learned it.
如意吉
I wish
祥，
everyone auspiciousness.
健康长寿。
I wish you good health and a
还
long
是说一
life.
下下一次直播的时间呢？
Oh, and also the time
我们就
for
说
the
一下。
next live feed.
因为接下来的时间呢，就是我们温哥华地区呢，
In the
就赶到
Vancouver
夏令
region,
时
we will be
我
starting
们
the
本地
summer
本地
daylight
的手
saving
表的
time.
时间呢，还是晚上6点。
So
但是呢，
the next live
就
feed
是亚
session
洲
will
台北
be
北京新加
on
坡这个时
Wednesday,
间呢，就
March
是
13th, and
3
it
月
will start
18
at
日
6
上午
p.m.
9点。
But
就是
in
在你们原有的时
Taiwan,
间上就
in
提早
Asia
1个小
time,
时
it will be
因为温哥华
Thursday,
这里
March
呢，
18th
就
at
是
9
赶这个
a.m.
夏令
It's
时，
1 hour earlier because of the
9点
daylight
钟可
saving
以吗？
time
看大家
in
应该可以
Vancouver.
哈，
Are you guys all okay with 9
去
a.m.?
年也是这个时间哈。
Last year
好
we
的好的。
also had group
好，
practice
那我
at
们
this
下次
time.
直播的时间就是
Okay, so our
现在
next
定的这个
live
时间，亚洲提前了1个
stream
小时
session
啊，
will be 1 hour
那我
early
们
in Asia.
就是下个周三
All right,
啊，
we'll
亚洲
see
是周
you
四，再见，
on
谢谢大
next
家。
Wednesday in North America and next Thursday in Asia. Thank you.
小的红点里，人生就此欢喜。我快乐了，我健康了，我幸福了，我美丽了。在茫茫人海之中，让我与你相遇。小小的红点里，人生变得神奇。我智慧了。